I think everybody just had to take a fucking like a seat and just to, everybody just kind of like obviously dive straight into it. And the more that they got into it, um, the more we realized how much work was actually put in. Um, and it's, I don't know, it's a little bit, like it takes you kind of like definitely kind of, it took me by surprise, that's for sure.
Yeah, I feel like
Um,
point 11, like I said, it exceeded a lot of expectations that people had. I don't think that they thought that the lighting was going to be as nice because the lighting is amazing.
mm,
I don't think I think people thought that the Raiders were going to be harder, but I think they figured it was going to be like
mm,
Rashella, and it was so much more than that. Um,
okay.
and I think that they weren't really sure what to expect from the labs. Like, the screen caps looked cool and that kind of thing, but you don't really know what you're going to get out of something until you're actually like in it. And
Yeah.
in playing it, it like I said, I think people were kind of like hesitant or reluctant to be like, oh man, I wonder if this is going to be any good at all because of so many like misfires and stuff that have happened.
Mm,
And then you get in there
mm,
and you're like, this is amazing, you know?
absolutely. Absolutely. Um, but just to kind of, I think, like take a step back, because I'm getting that feeling. It's getting all kind of, exciting again. Like, point
Yeah,
11 and
man.
shit. Like, whew.
Dude, I haven't.
Um,
Can I tell you? I haven't left the lab since they came out with the point update.
dude,
I left the lab for an hour to go to customs to walk around the new edition, and I haven't stepped foot in another map before or since. Like when the point update came out, all I've done is run around the labs and like dissect the living hell out of that place. And what's cool is it feels like every like little crevice of that place has something in it. Like I went into a bathroom and was like, oh, stems spawn here in the corner, and it was like in front of a toilet. And I was like, oh, this is a spawn point. Like there are rubles everywhere, man. Like
mm,
there's so much stuff. And there are people
mm,
saying that there's like a bajillion Bitcoin spawns that aren't behind locked
mm.
doors now, and I'm like, where? Like I
Yeah.
want to find that. But
Absolutely. There is, man. There is.
mm-hmm.
And it's, you know what? Okay. Like my experience, like I was like in point 10, right? Like in point 10. Um, the way I used to make money, is primarily by, well, I mean, I used to run interchange a lot, like a
Yeah.
lot. Um, it's, I mean,
How did
it
I make
was,
money? I don't think I
this
did.
is,
I don't think I did. I think I was a broke asshole with a Makarov before
fair
point
enough.
10. And I think there are people in my chat that can attest to that too. Because I was
Fair.
broke all the time. I think the only way I ever made any money was like scav runs if I got lucky.
Mm, mm. You know what? Like, I loved Kibba, man. Kibba back in, I don't know, back in point 10, kind of like mid 10, point 10, about a month in, was pretty
Yeah.
good. And then they kind of like within the next like 2 weeks, so like somewhere split down the middle of like point 10, they kind of nerfed Kibba, and that was a sad time,
Yeah.
dude. It was a
Yeah.
sad time because that essentially meant that I had to walk around the whole map, take more risks, loot more crates, and do whatever to get the same amount of money, which was annoying. And I was just like, "Ugh, give me fucking. Do I really have to fucking? I get it. Like, I get that PvP is a fun part of Tarkov, and that's why we do what we do, right? That's why we go and get money. That's why we're out here, like we're grinding and stuff, right? Like that's why. But for me, I would much rather, do like 2, possibly 3 Kibba runs, get like 1,000,000, and then just go and spend it on like 3 or 4 different loadouts, which will get me another 1,000,000, like in PvP, right? That's how I do it. That's there you go. Like that's the
Yeah.
there's the equation, as it were, right? Like quick
If I
math.
had a preference, it would be to make my rubles through PvP, but
Mm, mm.
not not always that good.
That's the
However,
same for me.
the labs has proven to improve
Mm,
my point shooting ability pretty
mm.
drastically.
How long have you? Like, how long have you been playing? Have you been playing since alpha release?
I started playing about a year ago this week, actually.
Ah,
I think it's a year. I think it's a year, maybe even today. I want to say
oh,
like, this could be my birthday for Tarkov. Uh,
wow.
yeah. So I watched Sacriel stream the game. I want to say a year ago this week. Uh,
Mm,
and I was like, "What is this?" Like, I watched him, like, getting attacked by the AI and running like a crazy person. I think I
mm,
watched him. He was on like a pistol run and dove into like a ditch to try and like escape from getting shot by a scav. And the scav AI was so bad at the time that it kind of just meandered up to
mm,
him and he shot it in the head. And I was like, "Oh, all right. I guess this game looks interesting." And then the more I watched it, I think I watched him for like an hour and then went,
mm,
well, I need to buy this. And then went and looked at like all of the different editions. And I did what no one should do. I bought the EOD edition without ever having played the game before.
mm,
And I bought the EOD edition of the game without having a computer at the time that was capable of running it because I thought that I could turn down the graphics like you can do on like a lot of other games and didn't realize the game was as horribly optimized as it was. So at the time, the gaming PC I had was not capable of running Tarkov at more than like 10 FPS. So Tarkov actually had me purchase another like $2,000 gaming PC. So,
mm.
and then of which I upgraded and then became a streamer and a content creator. So all of this stuff that I do now is Sacriel's fault. Yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
I
yeah.
see now.
Yep.
I mean,
What about you? When did you start playing?
I started playing around November 2017. And back then,
Mm,
streaming wasn't really a thing for
you've
me.
been playing before me.
Streaming wasn't really a thing for me at all. Um, so it was, yeah, it was not a thing. So like, I mean, I was kind of like I was streaming every now and again, but I knew about Tarkov through who was it? What's his name? The guy that did all those the um the Armor 3 DayZ videos. God, what is his name? He's really famous in that scene. God, what is his name? Um I'm derping here, like I'm brain farting.
Got nothing,
But
buddy. I'm sorry.
no, it's cool. Like it's fine. God, what he did a lot of like Daisy Armor 3 videos with like a bunch of his buddies, and they were all like cinematic and stuff, and they were so cool. Like um he could come out like with a 40-minute fully fucking like scripted, almost like a film. It's
Oh,
Frankie on
nice.
PC.
That's awesome.
Frankie on like
Oh, Frankie on
I'm
PC?
sure,
Sure, sure, sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure you've known
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
Frankie on PC.
Absolutely.
So um like, man, and then I saw Frankie just before he actually left the whole like YouTube thing to go and do, some IRL stuff, um, for his work and whatever. Um, he he actually released, I remember him releasing a video about Tarkov, and he got some like super early access or whatever. And then he was obviously in contact with BSG and stuff. Um, and they actually permitted him to release content on his channel, I believe, before anybody could actually stream it properly.
Hmm.
And that kind of like, when I saw that, I was just like, dude, this looks like what I want. Like, this looks like something I can definitely enjoy. I want to get into this. Where can I buy this game? What can I do to obtain this fucking game?
Yeah.
And
That's kind of my
within
reaction too, man. Hell yeah.
yeah, yeah, and then within like a 4-month stretch, I was super busy back then as well. Just with different things in life, whatever. Um, and within a 4-month stretch, that's when I purchased 4 to 5 month stretch. That's when I made the plunge. I saw a bunch of streams, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go in for the version that's a step down. Was it the Left Behind edition or Prepare to Escape or whatever it is? So I got that right. I got that, and then I played with that for like 3 months, and I was like, as soon as I got in there, I like the biggest adrenaline rushes. No joke.
Yeah.
I was hooked almost
Yeah.
from like the first hour of playing. Like
Dude,
no
there's
joke.
I have video going back to when I first like started streaming this,
Mm,
and that's actually another question that I want to ask you. But I went back to like looking at when I first started streaming this game, and
mm,
the only thing I was any good at was hatchet running for money, because I was getting murdered like all the time, and I'd be the
mm,
guy that was like, "Oh, I'll just take in this machine gun," because I grew up in like a gun family, but
mm,
aside from like using weapons inside of Counter Strike, it was never something where I was like, oh, like gun culture, like I need to know every like little nuanceical thing about it. I have learned more about um, guns and like attachments, terminology. Like you don't say clip, you say magazine. Like those kinds of things.
mm,
I've learned more about like gun terminology than anything else I have ever learned how to do formally or otherwise, certification or otherwise, just through like this game, because like you don't get exposed to like where I came from. You just used open sight rifles, or somebody had some cheap shit scope. You never learned about like military grade technology. Living out in the
mm.
boonies, shooting a 30-06 at a target. So um, it was very very cool learning about it.
Okay, cool. I mean, I have no background in military technology. I have no background in anything military, really. There's nothing. I don't know, man. But for me, like I I remember a time when I got so used to hatchet running in the game that it just became normal. Like, and I think that's what a lot of hatchers do. They just kind of, like they get accustomed to even just like, spawning in and then seeing a melee weapon straight away, right?
Right.
Like it's almost like on that level, like when you first after doing that, like for say even like a couple of days, like straight, um, man, I got so used to that at one point that I was just kind of like running. Like there's so many different ways. This is the thing that captured me the most. I think that there's so many different ways to play the game. And again, like
Yeah.
I come from a background of like Armor 3, right? Where the situations are, I don't know, man. Like the situations can vary wildly, right? But it's all in the same map and it's all kind of, very similar, but they are so different in their scope
Yeah,
and
I do swag.
and just in
Yeah, I do.
just generally how things happen. And it's the same with Tarkov, I feel, even though the maps are nowhere near as big. Um, it definitely like I've never had two raids that are the same. Never. Um, Never. And that's saying something within a year of playing this game at least 5 hours a day. Dude, I
Yeah, I've
I
never
don't know.
I've never had two raids be the same. I've been killed in the
It's
same manner repeatedly.
yeah, yeah. I've
That's
been killed in the
that's
same manner.
shot from Texas in the side of my head.
Yeah. So like, do you know what I mean? Or like getting one tapped by Pistolier
One
from
tapped.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah, my favorite
I,
is when you come around a corner and somebody one taps you in the eyeball with a TT pistol, and you're wearing like
yeah,
800,000 rubles worth of stuff.
yeah, yeah.
That's the best.
Exactly,
That's the best.
exactly. Um,
Of
and
course,
like
when
when you're
of course when
staring
you
down,
do it, when you
yeah,
get somebody
yeah,
else with it, then it's like the greatest feeling on earth. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Exactly.
You
You
celebrate other
win
people's
some,
demise. It's great.
you win some, you lose some.
That's right.
It's just the way it is. Um, but
What else are we talking about today?
I mean, you know what? See, I wanted to kind of, I started with money making and stuff like that. And just in general, how so like I still kind of want to, look back a little bit here, on how did we like what were we actually doing? Like you said, you were broke or whatever, you had a macro. in
Yeah.
hand for most of point 10 or whatever.
I had
I
a
mean,
I had a run in point 10 where I said I was doing a hardcore challenge. And
okay.
I decided to reset my account and do a hardcore challenge when I was like level 42 because
Oh.
I was tired of being broke and basically running like I was in a hardcore challenge anyway.
Mm.
So I reset my account back down to level 1 and then just pretended like I was doing it on purpose.
Okay.
Um, that was probably the time that I was playing Tarkov. I can't say that I was playing it the most, but before point 11 came out, that was probably when I was playing it and streaming it the most. In terms of content creation, that's been like the last like 2 or 3 months. I've been really making a lot of stuff. Before then, I was kind of like
Mm.
toying with the idea of streaming and making videos and stuff like that. And now I've kind of like dove in full force.
Mm. I mean, so I don't know. That's cool. So you were doing like some sort of a hardcore challenge, something like that, right?
Yeah, I was doing like I think I saw Deadly Slob doing it for the first time. Was like the first hardcore challenge I saw where he was saying whatever was in your inventory was fine, but you weren't insuring anything.
Mm.
And then Markstrom made a spin on it and said you can insure stuff, but everything that you have in your inventory has to be inside of cases. If it doesn't fit inside of any cases that you own, you have to sell it off or get rid of it. And
Mm.
but like money, like loose money in your inventory was fine, but anything that you had that you were going to try and hold on to basically had to fit inside of like an eye case.
Mm.
Like the Christmas gift was like all of the storage space that you had.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting. So then I took it a step further and I said, okay, well, if I'm going to do a hardcore challenge, I'll do just the eye case inventory and no insurance. I'll do both.
Mm.
And that ended up just being like mac and cheese runs the whole time. So, but I was leveling. Like I want to say like I laddered up some pretty good gear. I think I had like an 11 raid streak where I hadn't died and had made it through some tasks and stuff. And I think I was in like my mid 30s by the time that they did the wipe for the next point update. I want to say that was point 10 before I was doing that.
See, I wish I could say similar things about myself, but hey, I'm not that good at the game. Let's be real about that.
Neither it's okay, man. Neither am I. I just attributed it to luck, you know.
But
Or
yeah,
people saw my sad ass running through a map and they're just like, "That's not worth it." Yeah.
hmm. But I mean, you know what? Towards the end, um, because I like, there's definitely things that every patch, every single patch has their own ways of making, and they change it every patch. Every big content patch that changes.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so right now, for instance, making money is definitely like the best money making methods are allowed, 100%.
So much easier to make money
In fact,
now.
if you track it back, the general kind of trend with um, content being injected into Tarkov, and it seems like that's definitely a pre-planned thing, and it's definitely something which BSG has 100% thought about, and they have been doing this at least from, I don't know, man. Like, you used to be able to get all the loot on customs. Not only was customs like, it still is the same to this day, but the loot I feel that is at dorms right now is nowhere near the same as when I started playing.
No.
Like, it's just
No,
not the
it's
same.
not because it used to be like so my very first video I ever made ever
Mm,
on YouTube
mm,
was back in like the it was like the end of February of 2018 was the first
mm,
YouTube video I ever made, and it was a
mm.
farming guide on how to hatchet run through customs and make 700,000 rubles in an hour. I swear to God. And I am so sorry. I am so sorry for all of that.
Hey,
Um,
man, dude, share your experiences. Yeah.
but I made that guide, and it, people were basically able to run. If you had the keys, you could run between all of the safes on the map
Mm,
and pull treasure loot and cash. and you could get away with having like a key bar, a wallet, and a painkiller just in case
Mm.
you got legged by a scav because leg meta doesn't exist, and um, you just run to the opposite end of the map, try to extract, see if you
Mm.
found a gun, whatever maybe. And the scavs, if you remember back then, the scavs were so bad it took them a long time to realize that you were there. So you could just sprint up on one and hatchet him in the head.
Mm.
Back when you could left click one shot somebody in the head and it didn't cost stamina, right? So yeah, they nerfed the shit out of that, which is good because
Of
they needed
course.
to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I made that guide where you could make a ton of money um, doing that. So
Mm.
and then I actually ended up updating it in like April when they changed how certain things went, and they nerfed all of the cash and treasure spawns out of the safes. The safes went from, you know, I don't know, whatever, 4 or 5 thousand rubles on average out of a safe you'd get, and they
Mm.
they nerfed that to the ground. So
Oh
now
yeah.
you get
Oh,
like maybe 1,000 out of a safe.
like barely, maybe like 2,000 if you're lucky. If
Yeah,
you're lucky, you do two safes, you'll barely scratch together 5,000 for the extractions. That's right next to dorms now.
yeah, they definitely killed the
So
rolls on that for sure.
yeah, yeah. Um, so this is where I'm going with what I was saying previously. The overarching tendency seems to be that whenever new content is injected into Tarkov, um, it seems to be that um, they pour all of the resources, all of the money making like possibility, right? Like all of the like basically what I'm trying to say here is that I used to be able to do the same on customs. Not necessarily the same on customs, actually. No, I kind of lied. Let me say that it's most likely Shoreline. Shoreline is where I really started to kind of experiment with making money with the amount of inventory space that I had with me in Raid. Shoreline, especially with the addition of the resort, you know, I it was more of a case of just um just getting in there. If I run into players, then hey, I'll run into players. I got to get myself out, right? So
Hmm.
um and I looted, like I had a bunch of keys. I knew where all of those keys spawned. I checked those places all the time until I had my own key or whatever. In fact, back then I used to do a little bit of trading on, you know, on some discords and
Oh
stuff
yeah,
like that, just to kind of prop my inventory up a little
sure.
bit. Um, so it was hey man, there's times where
You do the patch day one reset where you sell the gamma container and then reset your account after you hand the money off to your
no,
buddy.
I'm not gonna lie, I never did that. But
Start off with 2 million rubles more than you had,
Mm.
right?
So, yeah. Um, it was like I don't know, man. I basically Shoreline when they added the whole resort thing to Shoreline, that's when I started experimenting, and I could usually walk out with a trizip from around like 600,000 rubles pretty easily, and that seems to be the trend. That seems to be the trend with pretty much every map, apart from Labs. Labs is on a different level with
Yeah,
making money because
absolutely.
you can get some absolutely insane, like insanely expensive items on like especially electronics like the LED-X, what is it, the skin transilluminator or whatever it
Yeah,
is,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
the
The
Vertex
the vein
chips.
finder. Yeah,
Yeah, the Vertex chips as well. Like I found one of those the other day, and that's like 700,000, 800,000 or whatever. The LED X seems to have gone up in price because I sold like three or four of them for like 800,000 each, and
yeah,
that's what the Vertex chip costs right now.
yep.
But the LED X since has gone up to like 1.2 million on
Mm-hmm.
the flea markets. So
Mm-hmm.
um it's it's one of those. And it seems to be that the magic number is around from like what 600,000 to somewhere about in the range of 800,000. So
Yeah.
I mean, I've walked out of Kibba before with close to 1 million in my
Well,
backpack.
and that's just
So
it. Like, you could get halfway decent stuff. Normally, it was running around and hitting case locations, right? Or
mm,
you'd have to get into Kiba, and you could pull stuff out of there, or you'd get the 310 key, and you'd or
mm,
222 or one of those up on Shoreline, and you'd rush that to like try and get there first before the hatchling beat you to it or whatever,
mm,
and that would be your money. And now we have a place like Labs where there are like 8 or 10 or 12 locations where you can find just like a ton of gear or stuff to sell for cash, or you run into those AI packs and manipulate the
mm.
crap out of their coding and make them walk down a hallway like lemmings and shoot them. So
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
when you're just kind of like herding them along, and you take them out and then grab their gear, and then you make money that way.
yeah.
And then you have the flea market, right? So um, you just take out boxes of ammo and amass that stuff, and you sell all the new Glopnik rounds, right? For
Like that.
you sell all the new Glopnik rounds for whatever they sell for. I don't know, 300 rubles a round or something,
Mm,
because those things are
mm,
amazing. But those boxes of ammo are everywhere. Uh,
mm.
the problem is now you have all of this crazy amount of like money inflation to where like these keys are selling for 20 to 40 to 60 million,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you're farming for 3 days in that place
yeah.
to try to afford them, or you try to be the guy that like runs the basement on Shoreline to get the key to be able to sell it for 20 or 25 million, and then you can do that 3 times and then get one of the other keys that's like a scav only drop. So
You know what? I don't know if you know anybody who's found that key. I don't. I'm just gonna put that out there.
I actually got duped, man. I got duped bad. I uh
Yeah.
I got a tip from somebody that I won't name, that I
No
know,
problem.
that we know well.
Mm,
And I went and looked into it, and it looked legitimate, and
promising.
it looked promising.
Mm,
And I got taken for a ride. Somebody showed some stuff that looked like
okay.
it was not fake. It looked
Okay.
genuine. It looked authentic.
Mm,
And I made a YouTube
mm.
video and said, "Hey, this thing's been found." And I was horribly, horribly wrong. And 12 hours after I made the video and put it up on YouTube, I had to take the thing down because it was fake. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so
I
certain
think
certain keys haven't been found yet.
I have heard about the repercussions of, well, I've heard, I heard a very similar story as well.
Yeah.
And then somebody else came in and was just like, you know what, Pastilli heard about the same thing, and um
Well, yeah, like
he
Pestily
yeah,
had heard the same thing.
yeah,
Anton had heard the same thing.
yeah,
War Run said it was there.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
like all of these like guys that their communities were saying like, no, this is real. So
yeah.
but
And see, like,
it's
it
just
took those communities
confirmation
to go and
bias.
test. Yeah, it took those communities to actually go out and test that properly,
Yep.
um, and then just essentially confirm that, hey, uh, it was a hoax.
Yeah, and there were like two smart guys on Reddit that were like, "Where's the screenshot?" You know, and
Mm,
then the same guy
mm,
posted a screenshot, and it looked like all he had done was take the key out of his inventory on offline mode
mm,
and throw it on the bottom shelf of the table or whatever where he said it spawned, and it didn't show like
mm,
something he had to inspect. It was just
mm.
like it said exactly what the key was, and it was like, oh, so you've seen this key before? You know. So
I see.
plus there weren't that many showing up in the auction house, and usually by the time something hits Reddit, there's enough people that know about it to where things are starting to show up on a regular basis, and there was like one key
Mm,
there. So
okay,
yeah,
interesting. The amount of times, actually, I haven't really run Shoreline all too part of just like, hey, I want to switch things up. Let's go and run a different map, run customs, interchange
yeah.
Shoreline. I barely ever run Woods. I don't like, that's my least favorite map. But
I still haven't got bored
um,
of the labs, man. I just can't stop.
I can't
It's
get out of
addictive.
there either. Um, it's so just, I don't know, man. I don't know what it is about it. I just can't get myself out of there. It's just, I don't know. But see, for me, I just it's all about really just making money and just being as in those kind of situations where we have to survive. You're forced to survive. And on
Hmm.
labs, that feeling is definitely present every single second. As soon as that
Yeah.
screen goes from black to being in, like it opens up into, you being there essentially. Oh boy, like
So
the pucker is
there's a
real.
few, actually this is something worth discussing, I think. So
Mm,
there's a few schools of thought with that, right? So
mm,
you have the labs map, which has no insurance. So
mm.
it's like if you but you have like super, like arguably super hard AI, or at least that's the way
Mm,
that it's supposed to be perceived, unless you
supposed to
start
be.
figuring out ways to game it and all that. And then you go
Yeah.
TT in a dream, right?
Mm,
Um, but you have this hard AI where it's basically like, yeah, bring in like top tier gear if you want to be able to survive all of that. And the big issue there is now you have guys that have figured out how to game it, so they start going like, all right, min max. So they start running
mm,
in with pistols, or they run in with, you know, an MP5 because you can face tap them, or whatever, or a Keter because then you turn into to Dottie and take out 5-man
mm,
squads. Um,
mm.
so you have like this one school of thought where it's like, yeah, it's super hard and you need to bring in really good gear if the AI wasn't something that could be easily gamed. So I hope that they continue to like improve the tactics, and like they don't
Yeah.
get stuck figuring out how to open a door, and they don't act like cattle walking down a hallway single file and that kind of stuff.
Mm,
Um, then you have the min max guys that go in. So it initially started off where like everybody that went in had like tons of hardcore gear because they couldn't figure out how to beat it. And now
yeah.
you've got guys that figured out how to beat it. So they hit the alarm and they go and they stand in the one hallway over in the parking
Mm,
garage and wait for AI to walk through. So now
yeah.
they're min maxing, and now that this whole thing is like shifted to guys that are like min maxing the raids and running in with a pistol and an MBSS bag instead
Yeah.
of instead of playing the game or the map really the way that I think it was intended to be played. And
Mm,
so there's like this discussion, which I kind of agree with, where it's like you have to be at least this tall to ride this ride. Like you need to have at least
mm,
X amount of gear in order to be able to
yeah.
get in there in the first place. And or making it something where like in point 12, hopefully they do a wipe and they put it behind something that is like task locked, or you have to
Mhm,
find like a certain amount of like rare things in order to be able to
mhm,
unlock the location to get in to play there.
mhm,
Um, because otherwise you end up having these dudes that just hatchet run around until they can find gear like you would see on other maps. The big difference is that now this one has so much like valuable stuff in it everywhere that you could hatchet run for 30 seconds and make money,
mhm,
a decent amount of money, to where like you can afford to get a kit in like under a single raid, you know.
mm, yeah.
And I think that like there's some tweaking that has to be done to where the combat experience and the sense of risk that is involved in there has to somehow correlate. Because if you're not risking, a 500,000 or an 800,000 ruble kit in a place that can easily make you 1 million or 2 million rubles in the course of a single raid, I think that that misses the point. You know what I mean?
Mm. See, like I I agree with you. I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. It's for me, labs like the whole kind of there needs to be like there really needs to be I think the a rebalance between the whole
Mm-hmm.
high risk, high reward thing. And yes, they have attempted to kind of solve the whole situation where, like you said yourself, you got hatchets running around doing their thing, right? Until they can find gear or whatever, or get lucky or whatever it is. Or you have people who are min maxing. I mean, you know what? Like, I'll put my hand up and say that I'm one of those
Oh, I've done it
that
too.
used to
Everybody has.
take,
Absolutely.
like like PP19 runs or Keta runs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I am definitely one of those people. Like it's and like no armor, no nothing, just just a Keda or a PP19. And hey, man, I've had some absolutely amazing raids
Right.
using that strategy, but it's
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, they have tried to kind of cure that. by putting in raiders, a lot more raiders, in fact, with things like MP5s loaded up with rip rounds and stuff like that, which
Right.
legit will one tap somebody who are not, like if you're not wearing any form of armor, like if you even have a packer on, like rip rounds will not go through that. Like
Yeah.
they just won't.
They have no penetration value at all.
Absolutely, exactly. So it's not they have tried, but I feel like I think that different things need to happen because now, I mean, this is where we kind of get into the whole, hey, Alt E, by the way, in the stream title.
Oh,
Wait, can I just add slash Alt Q?
oh yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
a fucking like do you know what I mean? Like that's exactly
Yeah.
um
Maybe you should
where
explain to
we're
people
getting
what
to.
that is.
So to um to basically, um I mean, I'm sure that most people already know, but I'm more than happy to explain. So essentially, when you are standing, your character's standing next to a corner, you know that there is a raider on the other side of that corner. You can do a sidestep peek out of that corner by pressing Alt, holding Alt, and either E or Q, and thereby your character model will step out and you will do, well, I call them hard peaks, but whatever, like just step peaks or whatever. And the AI at the moment, they seem to not see you.
Yeah, they don't
It
notice you.
seems like they don't see, like it's almost like their vision, you're not registering in their like sight line. You're
Yeah,
not
you're
registering
not
in
there.
their, you're not there for them. Um, which is definitely gonna get fixed. 100% in my
Yeah.
opinion, that will get fixed. Um, it's just a case of when. Um, you know what? I haven't actually gone and tested this myself, and I really should have done most likely before we actually did this today. But I should test that with other scavs on other maps.
Yeah, just regular
Um,
scavs to see if they do it too.
exactly. Because if they don't do well, if they do the same thing where they don't see you, then hey, like that's a thing that needs to like who uses Alt Q and Alt E? Who does that? Like up until like this map here, nobody really used that. Like
Right.
I didn't for sure. I used the lean function, right? Like I use the lean function much more than anything else.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where people use like the QE like peak, and then
Mm,
they get like really comfortable with using the QE peak, and then they start like kind of experimenting with other things. So
yeah,
the more that they do it, the more you play the game, the more you start experimenting with different like movement tactics and stuff. And
yeah,
I think it's more prevalent now to see people sidestepping than it was 6 months
definitely,
ago, right?
definitely.
Um, I've
Even
got
3.
somebody in my chat is saying it 100% works with like the regular scavs too. So apparently
Regular
this has
scavs
been
too.
something that's been around for a long time, I would imagine,
Oh, really?
and just
All
now
right.
it's kind of
Well,
coming into prevalence because
yeah.
you're noticing AI that has really really sudden reactivity and
Mm,
like super aggression and all that, and they're not
mm,
reacting to you when you do it. So maybe it just went
mm.
unnoticed because the general scavs are kind of stupid.
Okay. Well,
You know what I mean?
that's there we go. So basically, the I think I again, I'm not a dev. I don't know what stands behind this. It needs to. They will do something. It's pointless me saying, just sitting here in my, like in my chair and saying like, "Huh, they need to fix game." When Nikita? Like, it's fucking pointless. Let's be real about that. Like, so not that they won't do anything about it. No, the thing is they will, but and we know that they will. That's that's the issue. We know that they will. It's just pushing them and
Yeah.
stuff like
Well, and there's
is it
and
is it
obviously
gonna get us there quicker? Maybe.
the game's not
But
devoid of bugs either, right? I mean, we've seen
hmm.
we've seen lots of exploitive behavior, like
Mm,
like uh like loot disappearing through the wall
mm,
by people that realize that you can grab loot through the wall, like where certain loot is located that
Mm.
takes keys to get to otherwise, that I won't get into specifics on. But
Mm.
like Tweak had a stream where a guy, like he saw something on a shelf and went to grab it and it disappeared. And, and you heard a guy on the other side of the wall emote and then run away, you know,
Mm.
like that kind of stuff. Um, so that, yeah, I mean, the patch isn't without its issues like every other
Yeah.
patch.
Yeah.
But all in all, I mean, as long as people aren't being exploitive dicks, the game is super fun, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Like, there's no doubts in my mind about the fact that the game is fun, and it is a fact.
Yeah.
Um, but the money making strategies have definitely changed because hey, killers now 100% a thing. You know what? How many
Mm-hmm.
interchange raids have you done this patch?
I did I go to interchange? I did. I went on interchange once with Broba, Go Broba Fett,
Hmm.
who, if you don't
Yeah.
know who he is, or if your audience doesn't know who he is, he's the guy that makes all of the artwork for most of the dudes in Black Site.
Mm, mm,
He's amazing. He makes all of clean stuff, and a lot of the other, I think all of the other Black Site streamers,
mm,
content creators. He makes like all of their artwork, and he recently started streaming himself, and his stuff is
mm,
amazing. He's
mm,
super funny dude. But I did some raids with him the other day, and he asked me to go to interchange, and I went. And the first time I had run interchange, the entire update, Killa was there, headshot him, not like in a moment, like just killed him instantly. And then I ended up killing him with a grenade through the mail slot on his face. Had a piece of shrapnel go through the mail slot and kill him. It said I killed him with a headshot at
oh,
the end of the match, but
brilliant,
the helmet had no damage. So that
brilliant,
was that was pretty funny. Um,
brilliant.
but yeah, I took him out, but I didn't even loot anything. Like I took what was on his body, and then I left the raid because I was like, well, I don't want to die with this
Mm.
cool stuff, and I haven't even worn the helmet. I wore the helmet on the way out because I wanted to see what it was like, and then I put it in a box because I was like, well, this is a good
Perfect.
trophy. I'm never gonna use it,
Mm, mm,
because you
mm,
can't you can't see or hear anything. You know what I mean?
mm. Yeah, so see my chat saying they rebuffed the Kibba because of Killer. All right,
Well,
let me.
if they rebuffed
Uh,
Kiba, they also said that they were gonna put an alarm on the door, right? So whenever they get
that's
around to
coming
that,
later. That's
yeah,
coming later, I
yeah.
think. But I mean, it probably wouldn't, take too much.
I
Again, I
don't think
don't
so.
want to. I don't want to sound like a dick here. Like, how much does it take to fix fucking gay? Like, like,
Please
just
fix
fucking
game.
do it for just forehead, just forehead. Like,
BSG,
fucking
please
breathe.
fix game.
Uh, yeah, literally. Like, how much does it fucking take? Like, no, but for real. Um, like, I've been to interchange around 10 times, and out of those 10 times, I've been killed by killer about 9 of them. That's not a
Oh.
fucking joke.
Mm.
33%, by the way.
Yeah, he almost took my face off one time. He shot at me, and there was a bullet that went by my eyeball.
Mm,
Didn't quite
mm,
catch me, but the second one hit me in the leg, and then I was limping, and I'm like, God damn.
mm.
Leg meta even
Yeah.
on the scav bosses exists.
Hey, man, I took out an Altin for a Val, and the new BPs, the 9x39 B,
Oh
like the
yeah.
super armor panning
Oh
rounds.
yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
Was farming
Yeah.
the labs for a long time for those. I took them out all into a single interchange rate. Guess what happened? Just I mean, wi- I walk up the main stairs, the main middle stairs, start going towards Mantis to go and check for them dank bitcoins and gold chain,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's some nice meds and things. Guess who shows up? And does the whole power slide while shoot you in the face thing, like fragile cheek dividing fashion, like no jokes. Like um, like, and I tried to spin around and spray him with my Val.
That
Um,
doesn't work.
yeah, guess what? Uh, in fact, I got that loadout back in insurance. So that's when you fucking hashtag feel sneaky, man.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's like for real, like that's my luck. That's how you know.
I mean,
If you
if you
wanna,
got good
you
at
know,
the game, it wouldn't be a problem, you know?
see, this is what I'm saying. If you want to see somebody
Man.
actually fucking terrible at the game, I don't know. Like I'm sure, I think One Peg probably has a link somewhere.
Yeah, right. Ain't gonna be me, homie.
Well, you were running around with macro shit about
Yeah.
last patch.
Well, I didn't talk about how many times I died, though. You know?
But no, so I mean, Kibba apparently has been rebuffed. Like people are saying, like Kareem found an RSAS, whatever, right? Like I was finding RSASs in Kibba. I don't know, I've been finding RSASs in Kibba for the past like 2 months, and it's kind of like been up and down. That's for
Yeah.
sure. Like it's definitely one of those. It's just kind of like I don't know. One week it's all good. The next week it's all kind of like. You're kind of like you're scraping by it, like you're walking out of there with like attachments and things, and maybe out of like a whole week worth of kibba, you come out with like a single repire, like
Right.
and then the next week it'll be like repire almost every other raid. So um I don't know, man. Like it's one of those. But again, like it's rebalancing. It's definitely like I'm sure that like I don't necessarily have to explain why the devs do what they do in terms of, nerfing the game in terms of making money in one place, say for instance, Kibba, interchange, whatever it is, and then moving it onto the new map. Um, they obviously like I mean they want to test the map as much as they can. They want to pour the player base into a single location. So therefore they make that location the most lucrative, the
Sure.
most it's pretty like it's pretty straightforward, right? So the more that they can do with that, like, or the more people that they can get into a location to test, the more information they have, and so on and so forth, right?
Yeah.
About
Absolutely.
different bugs, whatever it is. Um, yeah, even I've sent off quite a few bug reports with clips and stuff like that, screenshots, uh, where
Mm-hmm.
textures don't load in and stuff like that at a certain like angle when you're peeking a corner. It just all of a sudden just goes super low texture, and then it's just like, well, hello. Um,
Right.
so what do I do now? Well, you print screen that shit and you send it off to the devs.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
think it's like
so
people seem to get lost on what you're supposed to do when you find issues. You know, it's
yeah.
funny. Like I'll get people that send me things directly because they know how I am. Even though we're
Mm,
turning over a new leaf today, I think we're done. Like I said to you earlier, like we're done with the drama news. Like that shit's not happening anymore.
fair enough, man.
Catching way too much grief over it. But like people will find an exploit and then they send me DMs, and I'm fine with getting told about it. You know, like things to avoid or things to look for, and like if somebody's like, oh yeah, this guy's like clearly duping stuff on the flea market, I'm gonna avoid buying anything from the guy. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Um, but at the same time, it's like, uh, what else are you doing? Are you just telling me because you think I'm gonna make a YouTube video from it, or have you sent something through the bug report system?
yeah.
Because like the bug report system exists, that's what it's for.
Hmm. So definitely like I cannot stress this enough. In fact, I probably should. I think that's what tomorrow's stream title is going to be like. Bug report, bitch. Have you heard about the button? Do you speak bug report? I don't know, something like that. I don't know. Like talk bug reports to me all day, babe. Let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point too. Somebody in my chat just
Uh,
said like when they inform me of stuff, they don't want to reveal the confidential data themselves and
mm,
risk the bean, right?
mm,
Like they don't want to go the way of Glockwork because they divulged information to the devs that they found. You know what I mean?
mm, mm.
Um,
Hey,
But
You know
I
what?
don't know if people are actually getting banned for that though. You know what I mean? Like it's
I
kind of difficult to say like, oh yeah, that's definitely happening because you know,
see.
you submitted a bug report. You know.
It's exactly, and not only, in the last podcast, which I believe was on the 27th of December, um, I mean, we did the translation thing. I can tell you right now, that I will not be able to give you a specific number, but Nikita, you know, they reiterated, especially
So many times.
Nikita and Zemis, they both reiterated so many
So
times
many
that
times.
guys, bug reports, not only bug reports, we are now going to do more. We want to be in contact with you. We want to stay in touch with you. Like we want our community. We are going to be asking our community managers to now do more. We will start, complaint mega threads if that's what you want. We will start bug mega threads where you guys can literally, that will be your one stop for all of your ails, all of your problems. Go there, complain, write up whatever you want,
Right.
as long as it's constructive. If it's constructive criticism that is worded in a coherent manner, and
Yeah.
presented adequately, then that is what we are after. That is
Yeah.
what fuels us.
I don't know
That is
about
what drives the process forward.
I don't know about you, man, but if somebody's
Mm.
like, "Hey, you're screwing this up and you're an asshole," you're probably not going to be so receptive to that, right?
It's see, it's and like you know what? Like I've worked in a few different industries, and guess what? Like the guy that comes in who, you know, um, is just literally he walks in and you're just like, we're fucked. We've got a problem. I don't know what to fucking do about it. I f- we need to do something about it. And
Right.
like the
Right.
guy that will then the second guy that comes in and is like, okay, we have a problem. There are several solutions to this problem. Can we talk about this? Can we, discuss it? Maybe I can do something to try and help. Well, guess what? The guy that came in who, was calm and had, who was coherent and just adequate about his, just the way that he presented the information, those people are the ones that get a fucking pay raise at the end of the month. Like, and get most likely get promoted within a 6 month period. Like, that is not a joke, ladies and gentlemen. I've seen that happen on countless occasions.
Yeah.
Through many, I've worked in quite a few different companies in, like I said, different spheres of work. And it's always the same outcome. The guy that comes in who's tearing his, like, who's, I don't know, like, whatever it is, right? Like he's nervous and shit. He's kind of like, just fuck this. This is shit. We have a problem. I don't fucking know what to do. And then there's the guy that, hey, like, I want to get this fixed. Let's try and do something together. Let's pool our resources. And well, guess what? Like that guy then ends up being, team leader or something, and starts actually working up the ranks and stuff like that. So this is, and this kind of ethos, this kind of like etiquette is what I believe needs to happen. And hey, yeah, I get it. Like it's a button. Hey, you're anonymous and stuff, right? Like,
Yeah.
and guess what? We're on the fucking internet and it is 2019. Give a fuck. I'll press that button and I will write my whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, I get that. I get it. But in order for it to be constructive and in order for us to actually then see the rewards from that and see the results from that, it needs to be in a coherent, adequate manner.
Yeah, I agree.
um
Absolutely.
like coming out with like some crazy shit without having backup information necessarily, and then screaming. Yeah, it's like the guy that cries wolf. Like, how
Right.
many times can you cry wolf or you get ignored?
Right.
It's it feeds into the whole. Um, it feeds into, yeah, it feeds into that. So,
I mean, I'd like to think that they're doing the best that they can with what they have the ability to do. You know what I mean? Like I don't think these guys are
mm,
like, I don't think they're screwing off. I think they're human. They make mistakes, or they
mm,
misunderstand how to do certain things
mm,
the right way, or you know what I mean? They get bad advice, whatever it is.
mm,
But at the end of the day, I think that they're trying. I don't think that,
yeah,
there's like this running joke that like they're running for the plane. Like it's warming up on the
mm,
tarmac. They're taking all the money and they're gonna, fly away. And I don't think that
mm,
that's true. I think that they
no,
genuinely would like to have something marketable. I mean, and I think that point 11 is evidence of that. I think this patch finally got the game to the point where people are like, "Oh, I get it."
mm,
Like things are finally starting to come together with all the new assets that they added, and the way that this map plays. um Hopefully they're going to be able to stay on the track record that they initiated when they did the last
mm,
podcast, where they said, like, or two podcasts ago, when they said, we're generating this map. It's going to have a whole bunch of new assets in it that we had to construct. Once this map is in, this will have all of the rest of the assets that we needed for the game, and now we'll be able to like accelerate our timeline on getting, more maps made and released. So I hope that
yeah,
that's true.
yeah. Um, so do I. So do I. And I think that, you know what, this kind of, this brings, this is a very, very good talking point because, like you said yourself, absolutely correct. They did say that this map, in terms of assets, is supposed to kind of round up the asset building
Right.
process
Right. They're
for the
supposed to
game.
be done with making assets now.
Yeah. So as well as much as possible, maybe there'll
Right.
be
Maybe
some
there's gonna be
other
some one-offs or
stuff.
something.
Yeah, there's going to be some things like, hey, like stationary gun emplacements, for instance, right? Like the 50 cal stuff. Like, yeah, they're fairly minor, I would say. Yeah, like you got texturing and stuff, sure, but that's not really too far away from what we have already. Um, so obviously, like cut and paste stuff is, it's, yeah, I'm sure that they can copy and paste in places. Like, I don't think that that's, um, that's too far from the truth. And in fact, hey, um, even if they do copy and paste up until even, say we're in point 1 or point 11, if we say the point, like literally 1.0 being the release of the game, right?
Yeah.
If we've got another however many patches up until like that metaphorical 1.0 hits, and if they keep doing that up until the release date, man, I don't mind, right? Even if like one or two patches away from the release date, right? And then those two last patches are just the polish, the out,
Yeah.
just like the real polish on all of the different assets, on all of just everything, right? Um, I don't mind, man. I don't mind, and in fact, I actually see that as being something, you know, um, which I think is fairly real. I think that they may do that. I think that they may kind of copy and paste bits here and there, up until a couple of patches before release, where they will polish everything up. They will change textures. Um, they will change all sorts of stuff, possibly the placement of certain items on the maps and stuff like that. Just there's a bunch, which they can do, but Mm, see, for in terms of assets on the new map, uh, I would say that it's about 10% in terms of reused assets. I mean, how much is there? How much new stuff is there? Like, it's kind of mind blowing,
Yeah.
in my opinion. It just, even in terms of just textures and the items, and I mean, hey, yeah, duffel bags are the same. Yeah, med bags are the same. Sure. Have you seen one of those soft med bags on that map? No, I've only seen hard med bags.
No. Yeah. Only the hard
Um,
cases.
yeah, only the hard cases. And
Yep.
there's all sorts of medical like equipment that's scattered about everywhere that you do not see on other maps. You just don't. There's so much new stuff.
Yeah.
and I believe not only is it texturing, not only is it just the general assets, but it's the lighting as well is very, very good. Um,
The lighting
it
is
is,
amazing.
it's,
They need to
I
bottle that. They need to bottle that and sell it. Honestly, like just I'm serious. The way that the lighting looks in that map is
absolutely,
absolutely amazing. It's
yeah.
really like you can tell that they have somebody that just loves to code lighting in there
Mm,
somewhere. They've got just some crazily talented like programmer that loves coding lighting because that looks so good. It's amazing what they did in there
mm,
with the way that the lighting
yeah,
is. It's
yeah.
great except for one spot in the basement where you go to turn a corner and the
Mm,
lighting hops up like a lot. Like it looks like somebody
yeah,
turned on a light switch when you pass like this one little like spot in a hallway.
yeah. You know what? I'm gonna, I'm gonna, I am gonna go out and say something which I don't know. Like I've been watching a few people play the new content. Primarily, you know, I mean, I can't mention his name. Like I isn't sorry, I can't not mention his name. Say, but hey, man, I have been watching Shroud. I'm not gonna lie, especially in the last week.
I don't know why people hate
His
on him so much. I love that
no,
guy.
I love him as well.
I love his
You know,
stuff. He's
yeah,
dude. I mean, like,
he's
what you're playing a gun game. Why wouldn't you
yeah,
want to watch one of the absolute best possible people that plays a gun game?
mm,
Like,
yeah,
you don't have to sub the guy, but you should watch. I mean, learn something. I mean, he's
yeah.
he's a
Just
he's a
even
human
like
bot.
yeah,
The guy is too good.
dude, he just yeah, some of the movement and way that he processes certain in like situations within the game are just because he
He's got
like
that mind,
yeah
man.
okay. It's just it is. It's just the way that his brain is wired. It is so good. Like he just I
And
don't know, man. He
he's
just
playing all the time with my man Clean now, dude.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
So
good. It's good watching them play together, man. It
yeah,
really is.
yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. Um and it's I don't know, it's obviously it's super good for the game and stuff like that. It is brought a lot of attention to it. I mean, hey, I don't know, like he's just enjoying himself, isn't he? He really is just enjoying himself,
Yeah,
which is
I think
amazing.
he's genuinely having fun.
Yeah.
There are people that will play certain games because they get paid to do it, and there are
Mm.
people that play certain games because they genuinely enjoy playing them.
Yeah.
And I think Shroud keeps playing Tarkov because he's genuinely enjoying the
Mm.
game again, which I
Mm.
think for a while he did not.
Mm.
I can't speak for him, but
Oh,
just he wasn't playing the game for a long time, and now he's
yeah.
back and he's playing it constantly to the point where like he's like telling his chat like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna stop playing Tarkov at some point, like because
Yeah.
they're like, oh, Tarkov again,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's like, dude, just let him be him.
Yeah.
Can't
Yeah.
play BR all
Exactly.
the time.
Exactly. Exactly. And he's
And
been trying to
I
switch it
think the
up as
labs
well.
helps with the pace too, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you get into the labs and it's like action is almost immediate. It's
Yeah.
not big and spread out like a shoreline or like an interchange. Like you get
Yeah.
in there and like things start happening almost immediately.
Yeah.
To the point where if they're able to keep that pace and keep the gunplay the way that it has been and maybe tweak
Mm.
the AI a little bit, you might even be able to start hooking in guys that are bigger on like, constant action like Doc. You know,
Mm.
you'd never see Doc on Shoreline. You'll never see him on Interchange. You probably wouldn't even ever
No.
see him on Customs. But if you put
No.
Doc in Factory or if you put Doc in the lab, I think
Can I
you'd see that.
this you know what? This kind of like I feel like this is a really good segue into more troubling side of that. And I mean, yes, it's actually like it is amazing that Shroud is, you know, playing the game. He's getting more people into it and stuff. But like I mean, his community is definitely big enough, and he can definitely well, the community can definitely help Shroud out whenever he is, you know, like running low on money or whatever, right?
Hmm.
Um, and it definitely is, you know, I mean, obviously having a like you can't. when you play Tarkov, it is extremely, extremely difficult when, especially when all of these kind of tools are built into the game, like the flea market, um, that you can interact with your community with almost no repercussions, right? It's not like you're on a Discord, like, with some like shady back alley fucking like almost deals, like, do you know what I mean? Where you're like, it's almost to the point of like, will you get scammed or will you not get scammed? That's been cut out.
Yeah. Well,
That's been taken out.
and there's I think there's a well, all right. Anyway, I'll finish that thought in a second. Please continue.
Sure. So basically, what I was saying is that it's extremely hard community um, through the tools that have been added to the game recently. I'm not gonna lie, I've fallen into the same trap. I have. I definitely have. And hey,
What's that with
I
your
have,
community giving you stuff? You mean?
yeah,
Oh,
like
so did
viewer
I.
loadouts, for instance.
So did I. When I started off at the beginning of this patch,
Mm,
Swaggleby,
mm,
who's an awesome member of my community. I love the guy to death.
mm.
The dude liquidated like half of his inventory to get enough money to help me buy keys so that I could make a video on the keys. You know,
Like,
of
yeah.
course, I got I ended up getting lucky before anybody knew what prices they should really be set at. We ended up getting some
Mm,
like crazy deals looking back on it.
yeah.
Like I got like the Arsenal storage key I think for like 1.5 million rubles or something. Like it was just absurd stuff, dude. Like nobody knew what they were, but it's the same situation, but I think it's different. Like how do you? It's a fine line between trying to be representative of what the game is and show people what the game is about versus trying to not only be entertaining but show people what the game could be for them.
Mm, yeah.
Because you're ad I mean, even though you're streaming and you're creating content, some people are like, you're being funny, but at the end of the day, the word influencer is definitely like a big thing here to where
Mm,
that influencer moniker has to do with, you're showcasing what the game is about, and people like me, when I watch Sacriel, you decide whether or not you're going to buy it at some
yeah.
point. Like if you're going to play that,
Yeah.
like, oh, that game looks fun, I'll play it. And that's, I think, why ultimately most of the developers let people stream games, is because they know that it's free advertising. So
Mm,
they don't care if it's monetized for other people. That's why they let you do it.
yeah.
And and when you as the content creator are like low on items or cash or whatever, and you have a viewer that says like, oh, well, I'll hook you up so that you can keep making the stuff that I love watching you make. I don't
Yeah.
I don't think that that's something that should be like denigrated. People shouldn't hate on the streamers because they're taking that stuff in. I don't see a problem with that at all. I mean, at the end of the day, you're watching a channel like you'd watch television, and if it's boring because, the person that you're watching has run out of resources and all they can afford is a Makarov to run around, and yeah,
Mm,
maybe 1 in 3 raids or something, they make some insane play and they get back on their feet. Great.
yeah.
I just look at it like, if you as the content creator are struggling, or you going like, oh, I wish I could make X, and you have somebody willing to help you, I don't feel like that's like making the game disingenuous. I feel like that's just helping you generate quality stuff that your audience actually wants to
Yeah.
see. Like I see
Yeah.
I see less of a problem with having your audience go, "Oh, I'll feed you stuff so that you can make things that are interesting," versus like BSG handing out media kits. But we're not going
Yeah.
to talk about that other half.
That's see, I think that like again,
It's a tough thing to like
it's
kind of fall on like one side or the other, you know?
it is, and you know what? I definitely like I can definitely see what you're saying, but in my opinion, like this is just me. Yeah, your community wants to see, you go into like the rooms to see the general kind of like spread of the loot or whatever it is, right?
Right.
Like over
Hmm.
a certain number of like hours or days, possibly, right? Um, so where I'm getting at with this is, for instance, right? Like, I mean, I can't really not I can't not use Shroud here as an example because most of the, like, I don't know, most of the other high profile Tarkov streamers, um, like they kind of like they know the feeling of the game. I
Right.
feel like
They
I
don't
don't know,
struggle
like
anymore.
I feel like Shroud has been kind of not to his like not by his own fault, but he's been kind of cheated out of that feeling. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Kind of
well,
like he's a
that's another good point. Is like the other side of the coin is
mm,
you have, rather than being fed gear, right?
mm,
You're misrepresenting Tarkov's struggle,
exactly.
right? So there's like the other side of the coin is like any normal player that gets, whether you're amazingly skilled or not, because like Summit is a perfect example, right?
Yeah,
Like he's somebody that was bathed by fire, and actually, like, when he was handed all the gear that he was handed, he deleted it all
yeah,
and started off from square one, um
yeah.
and worked his way up. But you saw him rage and like smash things when he died, because he understood the sense of loss, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And wasn't going to a community to get given stuff, And I think
Mm,
everybody kind of goes through like these stages of like gear fear and grief over getting
mm.
like murdered and like losing everything, like every
Dude,
every other player has.
you know
and
what?
and if you're being fed stuff, that doesn't happen to you, right?
No,
So
dude.
at some level you misrepresent the nature of the game a little bit,
Yeah,
because you never get to
yeah.
the point where you are broke, and show people what it's like to have to like work your way back up through to having like like tons of stuff again. You know what I mean?
It's two different types of content at that
Yeah,
level.
and I agree with you at some level. If you're an onlooker watching it and you're like, "Oh, this guy's always stacked," like, "Oh, I'm as good
Mm,
as them. I can play this game too." And then you get into
mm.
it and you start getting murdered, and you
Yeah, you
do
just
and you
start getting
do
shot on raid after
yeah.
raid
By the time that you're
without
level
like
6, you're completely broke, right?
yeah,
Because you have
yeah,
nothing.
yeah.
And you do what some of my other friends have done, and rather than just trying to like schlep it through and and do like the embarrassing hatchet run to get a couple of items to sell so that you can afford a
Mm.
Makarov again, you know, rather than doing that, you reset your account to get
Yeah,
stuff,
sell
and
your
then you
gamma,
try and like
reset your
start,
account,
yeah, and then start
and then yeah,
over. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And
yeah.
some people, they never even thought like to sell the gamma. It's just like, oh, I'm just gonna
Yeah,
reset
just
because I got nothing
reset,
left.
yeah.
Like, I'm just gonna do
Yeah,
this, and then you get that
yeah,
cascading frustration until you like
yeah.
do the Dark Souls get good, right?
Yeah, right, yeah.
So
Yeah,
like
man.
I absolutely see that point. Maybe it's like one of those things where like you really should have a time period where you go through and you understand what it's like to have to like really work through that proficiency. And
Mm,
then when you're the guy that like everybody recognizes, or girl that is recognized as somebody that like understands the mechanics and knows how to play the game, like then the handing of kits doesn't matter, because like if
mm,
if Ghost Freak does a viewer kit day, nobody's gonna give a shit, right? Because he's got
mm,
40 million rubles plus whatever his stash is valued at between all of the cases and everything else. So it's not like it matters for him, you know. Like he
yeah.
he'll wreck somebody with a shotgun and some meme build.
Oh,
So
dude. Like last summer around August time is when Summit played Tarkov for the last time. At least the last time he tried it
yeah,
on stream. And you know what? Like, just as you were saying, like seeing him like rage out or whatever, um, over the fact that he got killed, possibly in some bullshit way. But that didn't really matter. That didn't really matter at all. Why did it not matter? Because that was the genuine experience. That's what all of us went through.
yeah,
And man, it was
One peg.
completely different,
Why are you so
seeing
beautiful?
somebody who has played other shooters on a professional level, absolutely just like, almost like to the level of just actually fucking losing it and saying, you know what, fuck this for today. Either let's go and play something else, or I'm fucking done. I'm shutting down the stream. I will fucking see you all tomorrow. Much love to everyone. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've seen everything in between.
I've seen
With
P-Bro
that.
do that.
Yeah, like,
Hell
and
yeah.
that's the experience. And this is why I play Tarkov. That is why I love Tarkov. The feeling of Tarkov, and the reason why I cannot, I I actually cannot at this point see myself going into play something else as consistently as I have been playing Tarkov. And with
I
each major, you're the same, right?
I only fucking play Tarkov. It's awful. Like I will
I
I have days like, well, and obviously like the singing stuff, right? But
mm,
we're talking about
yeah,
Tarkov, but like 95+% of the time I'm either playing Tarkov on stream or I'm making a video that has something to do with Tarkov or the community.
yeah, yeah.
Either a guide or a news update or you know a freaking rant, but we're not doing those anymore.
Mm.
uh,
See, all
you
right,
know
let
what I
me
mean?
just. Can I take a little bit of a step back and just be like, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't know, uh, the absolutely sexy human being who's on the other
Oh
side,
God,
um, he does Twitch sings, and the man can actually fucking sing, like, unlike on a level that, like, I don't know, man. I like,
oh man,
dude.
you're making me
If you
blush.
don't know, you need to fucking do this shit. Like
I haven't done it in a while, man. I blew out my voice real bad. It's taken like 5 or 6 days for it to recover.
dude, I couldn't do that. Let me just, I couldn't do that. I mean,
Yeah,
I like to
I sing like
sometimes
a
kind of,
canary.
just wait to myself and throw out, some like different bits of like lyrics or whatever. While I'm like driving or something, but like, dude, it takes a different level of kind of like,
These
um
guys are like, give us proof it's not auto tune.
yeah, it's just like make him sing, yeah.
Oh Jesus!
Right, no, but
On the spot, I'll start cracking. Be like, he can't sing, the fucking liar.
that's why they now have to click the link and go and check you out
Yeah,
whenever you do that. Or there's highlights
there's
or
got to be
something.
a hundred vods, like
Mm,
broken out by song because the game
mm.
does it. Somebody just said I'm a mixture of Fergie and Jesus. I don't even know what that means, but it sounds really attractive.
I like that.
Sing the Point
Mm,
11 trailer tune.
I like that.
One peg.
Jesus
Um,
Christ.
Why are you so
but
beautiful?
going back to things, Tarkov. I mean, like the feeling is there, and I cannot, like, I think that this is, I think the feeling is only going to spread further. Nikita has several times said that he doesn't want Tarkov to be a mainstream game. He will, almost to the point where I'm kind of, reiterating his words a little bit, but to the point where he's said that he doesn't want, like, he will do things in order to make sure that fucking Tarkov is not a mainstream game. But it's the feeling is so good.
I don't
Um,
know how you can. So
control that,
this is one of those future discussions, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm the guy with the business mind, like I've
Mm,
been, not that I'm wildly successful or anything, but I've been running my own business now for about, I don't know, 13 years. And
sure.
and it's primarily rooted in financial planning.
Mm,
So when you look at and evaluate businesses, you have to look at how is their revenue generated, right? And then
mm,
how does a company stay profitable? How do they continue to grow?
sure.
And there's two ways that a company like BSG will be able to perpetually stay in business and make stuff. It's either they have to continue to sell new copies of the game and continue to generate new players through the release of new content that makes people want to buy it, or they do what everyone else seems to do and they have the microtransactions thing. Now,
Mm,
they've said in the past that they don't want to and never will do microtransactions, which means that they have to continue to perpetually create new content that excites people enough to where they want to make purchases. Now, if
Yeah.
they keep making new content like point 11, and we let's just go out on a limb and assume that the game is mostly devoid of bugs and it works the way that they're intending it to
Mm,
work and all that, and
yeah.
we're past live release and they make
The
an
way that
update.
we imagine it, the
Right.
way that
Yeah.
we want it, and the way that
Let's
we
just
see it in our
imagine, into the future.
a
Um,
perfect
and
Tarkov.
there's like chimes playing in the
Sunshine,
background. Um,
rainbows, and fucking
that's
unicorns.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
There's a unicorn with an AK-103, and um, and we fast
That's
forward into
waiting
the.
in a secret
That's
room
right.
behind a master key card
That's
on
right.
labs.
That's right. That's
You
right.
may also see him in streets of Tarkov sometime,
Oh man, I can't
maybe
wait.
on a billboard.
But like let's say that it gets out into the future and they generate new content that makes people want to purchase the box, right? And
Mm,
play the game. If they have the ability to stay ahead of that to where like the development cost of making something new is less than whatever the new box sales are, then they're fine. But I think eventually the lifespan of the game runs its course and they have to make something else, you know?
hmm
Or there's obviously the route of microtransactions, and that's a whole other separate conversation.
mm,
The question here is going to be, how are they going to continue to generate stuff that keeps people wanting to not only play the game but keep buying the game,
yeah.
aside from people going like, oh, hackers are getting banned and that's the revenue source, because that's
Mm,
like the new, that's like what people have been saying for months now, is like, oh, they ban hackers and they're not fixing the anti-cheat because they want hackers to keep rebuying their game, which
mm.
is
Is
ridiculous.
is ridiculous. Let's be real about that. Like, as much as that sounds logical, it's fucking ridiculous. Like, how many of them do they have to ban, and how much money is that really? At the end of
Yeah,
the
I mean,
day,
you ban
that's
you ban 200 people. I mean, even if they all bought EOD, well, let's say it's 500 people. Even if they all bought EOD, that's not all that much
mm,
money. You're talking what,
no.
50 grand.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like, what is
that's
50 grand?
that's
That's
yeah, that doesn't even pay like the salary of one really really good programmer. So,
exactly for it. Like, no, that's not how these things work at all. At all.
but in the
With
case of this game, like kind of continuing on into the future, that's
mm,
that's the question is, um, they continue to make an amazing product. That's great, but at the end of the day, as a business, they have to continue to make sales. So there's going to be that like come to Jesus moment where they're going to have to figure out how it is that they're going to continue to generate revenue so that they
mm,
can keep running the game and serving the game
yeah,
and all that, right? Because I mean,
yeah,
at some point they're going to need staff that's going to have to handle the bug reports. They're going to have to make sure that the servers are running even better than they are now, because obviously the servers
yeah,
have issues.
yeah.
um, all of the things that they say that they have planned for this roadmap, um, is going to take some pretty like just from the server standpoint, it's going to take some pretty state of the art kind of tech in order to be able to run what they're trying to make run.
Yeah.
The maps even set up the way that they are, with all of the objects and everything that they load in, and the server trying to figure out like who's in range of what so it shows up and that kind of stuff. Like
Mm,
that takes a lot of resources. So
yeah.
you have to have like really really good running technology to be able to make that stuff work right. And
Absolute.
in order for that to be pulled off, that stuff costs money. So
Yeah.
you have to make more than you're spending, and otherwise the money runs out and then the shop closes, or you start searching for investors and then you turn into Activision Blizzard. So
You know what? I've seen some. I mean, people have been mentioned DLC in my chat, and yeah, I can definitely see that. That's like I suppose
I'm
something that
sure
will
that
kind
they're
of
going to
crop
do
up.
paid DLCs, I'm sure, and if you're an
Yeah,
EOD owner,
no,
you don't have to buy them, blah blah
that's
blah.
yeah, and this kind of leads me on to the next question: how much of a percentage do you think of the population of Tarkov actually owns EOD? I'd say that it's a pretty substantial
I
amount.
think honestly, I think people's frustrations get the best of them, and they buy when they're able to. They buy the larger packages just for the storage space. I think it's primarily the storage space and the gamma container. That's the reason why
Mm,
people buy it. And by the way, to my knowledge, the Kappa container, while it's saying that they put it in the game, I don't think there's any way to get it right now. So
well, there we go.
that's a thing. Um,
A Kappa container at its finest, right there, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah,
Out in the wild
a
is
wild, a wild
non
Kappa
obtainable.
container appears. Um, oh yeah, but anyway, going back to like the mainstream thing, right? So the whole point of all of that discussion about revenue is
Yeah.
if you have a game that you're saying you want to be like for a niche market, and that's how it's being designed, then the question is, okay, well, if you're shrinking the market to a smaller size that doesn't necessarily appeal to like the Fortnite crowd, right?
Mm.
Not to say that you'd ever want Tarkov to appeal to the Fortnite crowd, but just as a matter of comparison, like Fortnite
Um,
is a mainstream game and is ridiculously profitable, right?
yeah.
So if you're trying to appeal to a niche audience, you have to capture a very 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 large percentage of that niche audience in order for your game to make sense, you know?
Mm.
So you're basically saying that you want to cater to like 28 or maybe 25-year-old guys, you know, to 40-year-old guys that like gun games and hardcore military simulations. Like I would say that that's pretty whittled down. So you have to be able to really mine the shit out of that market, otherwise it's not gonna last. You know,
Yeah.
and
It's
that's
just
the
not going to
problem.
yield.
You
No.
need ongoing revenue from your core player base if you're
Yeah.
marketing to a smaller player base.
Yeah.
So maybe they have to go to microtransactions, even though they said that they don't want to or won't. So I don't know what that's going to do. I think if they're trying to make a niche game, they have to make it appeal to like damn near everyone in that niche, or
Mm.
they're going to fail.
You know what? They're kind of, in my opinion, they're slowly but getting there. That that niche is definitely growing, in my opinion. Um, I don't know, man. It's definitely growing. As mentioned previously, we've got some like seriously high-profile streamers playing the game
Absolutely.
at this point in time, and
Well, and if they added microtransactions for purely cosmetic stuff, like people want to play fashion Tarkov, then fine. I
yeah,
see I see no problem
yeah,
with that whatsoever. You want to add a black trench coat so that I can wear my sword and sunglasses and pretend I'm Blade
yeah,
because I keep saying I want that, you know?
yeah.
Like if they do that, I'd buy the fucking trench coat. I'll give them $3, you know?
Sure.
I just like they're gonna have to figure out some other way to make recurring revenue, and it cannot be like a buy a kitted AK. It can't be that
Yeah,
because they
no, it
will
can't.
then be accused of pay to win, and
I
that would be
the
bad.
hands down, hands, feet, whatever. Like, it absolutely, dude. Yeah, the whole pay to win, like, get an advantage over somebody else for money, for like real life money. No, that is, uh, oh my god, dude. Like,
Well,
I think
I don't even think that they would try to make that move. I mean, I think every developer would love to be able to do that because they could see the dollar signs, right?
yeah,
Like you could appeal to whales and say like, yeah, buy kits of gear, do it. Like that sounds
yeah,
great to me, you know. Um, I just don't think that anybody in the position that Tarkov was in would do that because even they would understand that it would be suicide for the game. They would
yeah,
kill themselves.
yeah, yeah.
And as long as
Um,
like the stylistic items didn't give somebody like some unfair advantage, you know.
definitely, past release, I definitely feel, that there is room for that. Past release.
Sure.
I don't
Digital
think that it
hats.
really has. Yeah, like visual, yeah. So like skins and stuff like that. Whatever trench coats or whatever it is, right? Like pink mini skirts and whatever.
Hmm.
Um, I can definitely, me as my bear number two, I can definitely like, hey, I'll be all kinds of down for,
Here's
you know,
here's a strategic
wearing
move.
that
What
pink mini
if
skirt.
what if you put off the ability for you to earn increases in stash size because you
Hmm.
want your player base to buy EOD?
Okay.
There's like if it were me, if I was being like
Yeah.
purely business minded, I'd be like, yeah, we're gonna add that eventually. I ain't gonna tell you when
Mm.
that eventuality is, you know?
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
I think people get
Yeah.
frustrated with having the extremely limited stash size and knowing that they can't hold on to quest items and stuff that take a long time to amass. And you can't really buy like
Mm.
an eye case yet. Although I think the flea market alleviates a lot of that pressure. And
It
especially
does.
now with labs, like you can go into labs with nothing, right? We were just talking about that. Farm up a crazy amount of money and then go buy yourself an eye case, and it doesn't matter if you have the normal edition or not. You can just and then of course you do the eye case in a backpack and then an eye case in the backpack and keep on going.
Yeah. Um, see, we're slowly but surely approaching, um, and
Yeah,
I kind
we
of
got
want to
some time.
look.
Couple 2-3
Yeah,
minutes.
we go. Yeah, I mean,
We got like what,
like,
half an hour or so?
yeah, we got about half an hour. But we are definitely
Feels
getting
like it's
there.
been
I
5
think it
minutes,
is.
Sneaky.
Exact,
We
dude.
just keep
This
talking,
happens every time. This happens every time.
chatting away.
And yeah. So I think um, it is that time to kind of just um, take a look into the future a little bit. I mean, we
Mm.
kind of have been,
Come with
but from
me
a
into
different,
the future.
like, yeah, right. Take
Hmm.
my hand, opens a portal with the other.
Interlock fingers.
Yeah. Oh, but so I mean, but in terms of the actual like the game, right?
Mm.
In terms of the content that's in the game, I mean, yeah, we've mentioned um some cosmetics and things like that. We have mentioned, like the new map and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit. Well, we've talked about the current new map being labs. We've talked about a few other, like mechanics and things that are coming in the future, like
Yeah,
key
and the
cards and
next
stuff
one
like
is
that. We've
the
just
military camp, right?
so yeah, this is where um, uh, via a slight, um, in fact, it's actually going to be a pretty big. Slight is actually an extreme understatement, because I believe that the intermediary patch between what we have now being point 11 and point 12 is going to contain a lot of bug fixes, a lot of back end fixes. And I believe that that's what they're playing with right now, as we maybe not as we speak, but definitely they've most likely started this week, and they will be working extremely hard to bring us stability with client server side interaction, and stuff like that. So it's going to be a lot of netcode um, fixes, a lot of just it's anything that you can imagine. In fact, right now, ladies and gentlemen, is obviously, I'm not. You can do whatever you want. You can go and play Tarkov right now, but right now is almost prime time again to play the game, to
Yeah,
collect as much
today's the last day of the
information.
sale, right?
If I Is it the last day of the sale?
I think it
Did
goes.
it
I
not
think it
end on
went
the
to.
6th?
I thought it went 28th to the 8th. Maybe it was the 6th. Maybe it was 26th to the 6th.
Well,
Was it the day
the
after Christmas?
promotion definitely ended on
Oh, okay.
um well, as in
The
the
sale.
codes. Yeah, well, with the codes,
Oh.
the trial keys and stuff,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. So
they
so
end on the
the New
6th.
Year event is over then.
Yeah,
Okay.
the New Year's event ended on the 6th. So regardless, right now, between now and I would say about February, like
One
beginning of
peg.
February time, the
Why is so
next two to
beautiful?
3 weeks, ladies and gentlemen, I will kindly ask you to do as much as you can, to do as much testing as you can, not only obviously on labs, but anywhere, absolutely anywhere. Even though labs, like, it has my nuts in such a vice that don't I don't even know. Like, I don't know. Um, it's kind of crazy. Like, I can't really. I don't know. I want to go and run other maps, and like out of a 5 hour stream,
No, you
I
don't.
come out and I'm just like, I don't know. I ran Factory twice,
You don't want to
ran
run other maps.
Shoreline maybe once, maybe Interchange once, but then every single other time I'm just like, bruh, like, let's get, like, we need to we need to go back. So it was, I don't know, man. I can't bring
One
myself.
peg.
I don't know. But
Why so
again, like,
beautiful?
I will, just for testing purposes and stuff like that. And obviously, like, I've met Killer, like I said earlier on in the cast, like literally I've ran Interchange maybe 10 times, and I've met him like 8 or 9 times. Like, he's there like 33%, by the way. He is there almost every single raid. At least for me, like, just, I don't know. But collect as much data as you can, send in those bug reports, find those mega threads, In fact, I will go out and do that myself so that I am in touch as well. Um, and it's got to happen. We've got to just we've got to make it happen, ladies and gents. We've got to be in touch with BSG. We have to, um, you know, we have to. We are part of the community. We have to craft the game.
Well, like,
We are a part of that process.
why so beautiful?
We have to take part. And instead of going down the route of um, let's just put it as the unfortunate route.
The unfortunate.
It is it is definitely a lot more productive and a lot more I don't know. It's just better for the community as it
I
keeps,
think I think if what they said is true and the assets that they said that they were generating are more or less done. Oh,
yeah.
dog just got up. Sorry.
No
Decided he
worries.
was going to shake himself off. If the assets that they were generating are more or less done and they are able to accelerate the timeline on generating the new maps and stuff, then hopefully they also stick to the idea that these patches are going to alternate between like new content and then like fixes, right? Because they said that they were focused on trying to get content into the game and then move forward from that, and then every other patch was going to kind of be like content and then like technical updates, etc.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that in the future we'll see like an accelerated timeline where these things are happening like once a month, every 6 weeks, something like that.
So in the podcast before last, they did say Nikita specifically went out and said, well, for one, that they want to round up the whole asset building thing with labs, past which the whole process is going to speed up. Not only do they plan to speed up the process of map building, they want to speed up just the general process of just putting items into the game and stuff like that. So basically, across the board is what Nikita was saying. With as an example, since maps, um, he did say that basically they plan to release two maps within a 3 month stretch. And the question was asked, does that mean that your devs are, for instance, you're just going to pick up all your resources and then throw them at a single location for like a month and a half or whatever,
Yeah.
like 6 weeks or
Well, they were
whatever?
saying they were going to release like 2 maps at a time, right?
Yeah, this is what they were saying. Yeah. So, and Nikita said no, because that's not the way that we plan to do it. We don't plan to just pick up the resources and just lob them at one location.
Right.
That's not the way that we want to do things, because we now, like, we're expanding, we're getting new people into the studio, and those people are definitely going to help the process in many ways, not just one.
Right.
And primarily being so that they can actually work on two different locations simultaneously.
Well, I mean, if they're using similar assets between the 2 maps and they're
Yeah.
just, plugging them into places instead of having to
Yeah.
construct them,
Yeah.
aside maybe they have to, build certain like slopes of the ground and stuff like that. I don't
Yeah.
I don't want to pretend I'm a
Geometry
game
and things.
yeah, I don't want to pretend I'm a game developer that I understand the process.
Mm.
Because I don't and I'm not.
We're just kind of,
But
we're speculating in
it
that.
seems to me like if like all right, so like let's say it's a like an auto body shop or something, and you have a fabrication shop in the back where you make your tools. Like once you've made all of the tools that you need and they're all sitting in the toolbox, it's a whole lot faster to fix the car. You know what I'm saying? So if they have all of the tools that they say that they needed to make for the most part, aside like they said from like a one-off here and there or something, if they have the vast majority of their tools sitting in the toolbox, then maybe they don't need to worry about spending all that extra time and resources on the background stuff, and they can just really work on plugging in those assets to where they need them and build the stuff. Maybe it does become that much faster. Maybe it's like a prefabricated house, and they just
Yeah.
slap it together in the factory and lay it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I
Whatever
guess
it
I
is.
guess we'll
Yeah.
see.
Whether it's cars, whether it's even just places. Like, for instance,
Yeah.
some of the rocks on Shoreline, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm definitely like they've done extremely well in order to kind of mask, right? The different like the rocks and like the rock formations and stuff. Like,
Right.
hey, if you take a little bit of time, I'm sure you will see similar textures.
Dude, have you have
You
you
will.
have you have you noticed like interchange or not interchange uh
Mm.
labs look so good that when you go into factory, you're like, what is this garbage?
Yeah.
Right?
What did we play? What is this, man? Did we play this before? Have I
Dude,
been here before? What the
oh man.
fuck?
Well, we just read each other's
Wait,
minds.
like, wait, have I actually been playing this for the past year
Dude,
without even?
like it's so funny.
Ah,
Like you go into like one of the old asset maps and it feels like two completely different games. Like the
absolutely.
new lighting and labs look
Oh,
so
it's
good that when
so
you
good.
go into factory you're like this is horseshit.
Yeah,
Like not to
yeah,
say that like and it's not that. Like if it wasn't for like it's one of those things like you don't know how good it is until you see the comparison,
yeah,
right? Like you
yeah.
go into factory, you're like, wow, this is really cool, and like you're shooting the crap up out of scabs and everything, and then you go into
Mm.
labs and you're like, what is this
What the
wizardry?
fuck?
You
Yeah,
know,
literally.
like this
They,
is ridiculous. And then you go
and they
back to
keep
factory,
fucking
you're like, wow,
spoiling
this
us.
is trash.
They keep spoiling us, dude. They do. That's what they've done it almost every single time. Although I have to take a little step back here and say that, hey, I feel like the lighting and just the kind of like the possibly the shaders and stuff like that need to change um on interchange, right? Like they need to do something about that
Well,
because the
that's
map is
that's it. Like
way
the lighting that's in labs was the lighting that they said that they were going to be implementing in interchange.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and that was way
yeah,
back in like point 0.8 when they said that that was coming out. In fact,
yeah,
interchange was advertised as being a map that was being released when they were advertising the Christmas deal last year.
yeah, yeah.
So like in November they said interchange was coming out as like a turn of the year map, and that
Mm,
obviously did not happen. It took very long from
yeah.
that point for them to put it out. What was it like? When did interchange come out? Like 6 months later, something like that. Wasn't it
Yeah,
summer?
yeah.
Like
Yeah,
July, June?
ish.
Was it that patch
Yeah,
when it came out? I
yeah.
can't remember
It
exactly.
was about yeah.
But
It was about
it took a whole lot longer for that. Um so like the timeline has been pushed back. Obviously, we've seen that. Like they
mm,
expected to have full release by the end of the year, and that didn't happen.
mm,
Um, but like I said, with now them saying that they've got all the assets constructed, hopefully it will give them a more realistic timeline moving forward to where they
mhm,
say like now we don't have to spend all this time fabricating tools, and maybe now they finally have like a realistic outlook in terms of how long it's going to take to get
yeah,
things crafted. And I
yeah,
personally would like to see the game succeed. you know I think that the development team has, like I said it before, like they made mistakes, but they're human, and maybe they got bad advice, or maybe they don't care, whatever. But you shouldn't hate the artist. At the same time, you should appreciate the art, and if you dislike the artist, you can dislike the artist separately from
yeah,
the art itself. Because
yeah,
there are plenty of other artists in other forms of media that people adore for their creative ability, but
mm,
detest as people. So,
yeah,
and I'm not saying that I detest BSG as people. I think the company is doing the best that it can with what it has. I just think they made mistakes.
yeah. I mean, it's just whatever the opinion. I think it's everybody's entitled to their opinion. In fact, I'll even go as far as saying everybody's entitled to their mistakes.
So interchange was in like May, I guess.
Yeah, me.
Hi
Yeah.
Sigma.
Yeah. So it's really cool. It's really cool to see how far we've come. And I think that the only way forward is to be a part of the process. And there is only a way. There is to me, there seems to be like, there is no way back, right? Unless
Right.
it's, like we don't want to. I mean, we can all imagine what the way back looks like, right?
Mhm.
We've got plenty of examples out and around the gaming industry in terms of games being marketed. Uh, quote unquote released.
Yeah, and it seems like
Or
there's been some narrative changes too a little bit because
mm,
like right. So like if we're talking like moving forward, so the past comments have always been that the game was going to be you progress through each one of the maps. You have to you get through each one, and after you've progressed through like this map driven narrative story with like these major story arcs, you get through to the end of like your 10th, 11th, 12th map, whatever it is, and then you've
mm,
like quote unquote escaped or have the ability to escape, and now the map is opened up for you completely and you have like this big open world kind of thing, right? Like that was
yeah.
always the way that it had been kind of presented before. And now we have a situation where in the most recent podcast that you translated, you sexy devil, um
You're well.
you have this situation where now it's being talked about where they're going to have like kind of like these regional stitched together maps. So instead
Yeah.
of it being like this big open world, now we're going to have like two or three maps kind of like woven together as one continuous larger area, and then you would
Yeah.
like pass over into a different region, which I think is
Yeah.
more realistic in terms of
Yeah.
what can actually be done with the tech that they've got to work with.
Yeah.
But it's different from what was originally stated. So,
Yeah.
which it's not a big deal. I mean, there have been countless examples of companies much larger and much more capable in terms of their staff and programming quote unquote ability from
Hmm.
AAA studios that have made promises that they couldn't keep because of whatever restrictions. So
Yeah.
I don't think that that's anything that they really need to have their feet held to the fire on. It's just
No.
I think we all just need to realize that there are ambitions and goals and wishes, dreams, whatever that like Nikita or his team would like to have, but they just might not be able to pull it off. And you could still have a really great game and not necessarily need to have like every little thing that they would love to be able to achieve.
Yeah.
I'd like to be able to use a jetpack, and fly around, but the tech doesn't exist, and I don't want to burn my ass off. So
Right.
like some things you just have to keep in the realm of reality.
Yeah. And you know what? Like I've had this discussion multiple times on in terms of how they're going to do this quote unquote um open world thing. And for those of you that have played Stalker before, the way that the open world thing happens in Stalker is, I believe, probably one of the best ways that I can see this happening in Tarkov as well. Although the main difference being that Tarkov is an online game, while Stalker is, is is an old offline game, right? A single player, PVE, right? A story-driven
Yes,
experience.
yes, and Stalker has just about all of its code, released to the public so that people can make mods and stuff. So
Yeah,
there are some absolutely amazing mods for that game.
yeah,
Road
absolutely.
Road to the North being one that was recommended
Yeah,
to me by Clean actually, and I started looking into playing that. I just can't find the damn time. So
yeah.
I really
Yeah.
really want to play that, but yeah, I mean,
Like
there's
some of these,
it's different.
the Road to the North is bits of the storyline woven into it. I think that the vanilla experience is probably one of the best things that is out there, because there is a lot that goes into these mods, and it's kind
Hmm.
of just like it's not the vanilla experience, and it is a little bit like overwhelming when you
One peg.
first look at it.
Why so
Um,
beautiful?
and the vanilla experience, it kind of takes your hand a little bit, it does feel like you're playing through a storyline, which is extremely immersive and like on one side, but it is also um very I mean, it's got its own narrative and stuff like that, and
Right.
then you complete it once and you're like, oh well, that was weird.
Yeah.
Like that cutscene was weird, is and then your chat all of a sudden goes that, hey, you know that there's like 7 different cutscenes for
Yeah.
the ending, and you're
Yeah.
like,
There's
wait,
like a bunch of
what?
different paths and stuff, and each
Yeah,
class has a story. That
so
was really cool. Yeah. I haven't
this is
played through it. I wanna do that, but
yeah, yeah, you really should. You really, really should
Well,
because
so
it has a very similar. Yeah.
I had a question for you.
Hmm.
Um, what about like the surgical kits and like
One
the
so
like the dynamic
why is that beautiful?
extractions with like
Yeah.
flare guns and I don't know,
Brilliant.
GPS locator or whatever it is that they're gonna use.
Brilliant.
Um,
So, see the GPS locator, right? I'll start off at the end and then we'll kind of work backwards. So the GPS locator has been it's been kind of put into two different categories because in the last podcast, Nikita has come up with an idea
right.
that the RFID chips or the geo whatever GPS locating devices, whatever they are, right? Um, so those might actually be used to call in the raiders
Yeah, I saw that
to
too.
come and fight for you, to come in and fight for you, help you. I don't know how long that will take. It's just an idea. It's just something that's kind of free floating in the ether at the moment, right? It's just is what it is. Um, so the flare gun was mentioned, as well as possibly having some sort of like a radio system, possibly where it's like a one-time use, maybe in a raid. And again, this is kind of me just throwing the radio idea out, but it's something along the same lines, kind of. Maybe the GPS trackers could be used in a similar fashion as well for you to
Yeah.
trigger a dynamic extraction. For instance, let's take Shoreline, right?
Hmm.
The GPS tracker as well as the flare gun, they can be, for instance, used in very certain, very
I
specific areas
I think like
of the map.
what if you had the ability to use them wherever you wanted, but
Okay.
it had to be something where like the team had to like be ready. Like if you're gonna
Mm,
get extracted, like yeah, it's got to be like at least 15 minutes in, and
mm,
and if you use something like that, like let's say it is a flare gun. If you use a flare guns are really really bright light in the sky,
yeah.
right? So there should be some type of triggering event, like hitting the alarm at labs, where
Mm,
if you're gonna try and extract, that's gonna be like a giant beacon for things to flock your way.
yeah.
So there should be like a rather long duration of time, like 3 minutes, 5 minutes, something like that. Like if it's let's say it's a helicopter flying in from God knows where to come and pick you up, and it's going to be a few. There should be enough
Mm,
time for you to have to incorporate some type of risk involved in that. I think, you know,
mm.
um,
See,
and it's the
like
same thing with
I
the surgical kits. But anyway, go ahead.
yeah. No, I just like see like with the flare gun or yeah, um, even with the GPS tracker, right? Um, I can definitely see that, like, what you're saying, like you being able to use that wherever on the map. Absolutely, man. I'm all kinds of down for that. I just see like certain areas of, again, taking Shoreline as an example, I see certain areas having much more usability
Yeah.
for that kind of event. I don't think I really need to describe those areas too much. I'm sure that,
Right.
if you just go, like, if you just think about it for a couple of minutes,
Hmm.
where you would be able to, like, for instance, you got, you're in a team of three or in a team of four or whatever it is, right?
Yep.
You've got all of your different roles assigned, right? Like two people with, like, say, automatic rifles, one is a sniper, and the other guy is, for instance, a medic, right? The medic carries the flare gun.
Or
Um,
that's actually another
do you,
idea.
like,
What if
so yeah, go on.
what if like you pop off the flare gun
Mhm.
and it generates a random point on the map that you have to get to?
Okay, well, that's pretty interesting as
How
well.
about that? Like if
That's
it if it
pretty
adds
interesting.
if it adds a dynamic extraction on the map
Yeah,
that you have to
yeah,
then work toward. It's like, I need a pickup and that's like, all right, well our landing zone is, over here. And that's it shows up on your UI like that's your added
yeah,
extraction point,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Um, so that, like, that actually sounds like something that BSG would actually implement. Like that really sounds like something that they
Yeah,
would
like
be interested in.
I could see like a car, something like that showing up. But like what about so like that covers like the maybe like the dynamic extraction stuff, but then there's
Mm.
like that then there's like two other like major mechanics that I think are going to be like meta changing. One being the surgical kit, and the other one being the usable defibrillator,
Yeah, the
right?
defib unit. Yeah,
So
unconscious
like
states.
so
Yeah.
like you have the surgical kit that can repair broken limbs, right? And then you'll be able to like, reuse your leg again, which is awesome. The only difference in this case being, you leg somebody, they limp away, and the meta has always been like down a painkiller, you can walk again, whatever. Um, what if it's with the surgical kit? I look at it like that could be potentially game breaking too, because um, if you sit down and you perform some type of, I don't know, awkward surgery on your own leg to make it
Mm.
usable again, that doesn't seem like something that should be as fast as like popping a pill out of a blister pack or opening up an
Mm.
ibuprofen bottle. I
Will it
look at,
give you full health on that limb back as well if you're doing it
well,
yourself?
maybe oh yeah, that's true too. Should it be like a grayed out area on the health bar then, where
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
you can heal it
possibly.
only up to this point, but it's usable. That
And
might be a good
then
mechanic. And the other
the
piece would be
medical
like,
skill will
I
increase that, for instance.
yeah, or maybe medical skill increases how much health is blocked out. That would be
Yeah,
cool.
how much, yeah, is grayed out or whatever, or
Yeah.
like
And
you like
what about
through
like
progression. Yeah.
what about like how long it takes to like stitch yourself up, you
Yeah,
know?
it's
Because
all of that.
it shouldn't be like
Yeah.
a 5 second thing. I'm thinking like
Yeah.
15, 20, 30 seconds, because that
Yeah.
seems like one of those things, like you don't break out a surgical kit when you're like hiding from fire. Like when
Yeah.
you're getting suppressing
Yeah.
fire, you're not stitching up your leg at the same time.
Yeah.
It doesn't make
No,
sense.
you're slamming that morphine and you're getting, away somewhere in the woods into the rocks, wherever, like into that ditch to go and, to go and stitch yourself,
Sigma
like
said that her
stitch.
and her community have joked that it should take 20 minutes.
Well, there's your
I think
dynamic extraction as
it would
well.
probably be like, I would like to see it somewhere around like 30 seconds. I think that
Yeah.
that's a fair amount of time to have somebody like really have to hunker down into a certain spot. You really have to
Yeah.
make sure that you're hidden away. That it shouldn't be something that takes like, you know, 10 seconds, 7
No,
seconds. There's no
absolutely
way it
not.
should be that fast.
In fact, I would even go slightly further. 30 seconds is fair enough time, but I think that it needs to take slightly longer than that. Maybe 40 seconds, maybe
Yeah,
just
maybe.
slightly shy of a
Maybe that's
minute.
it.
Yeah,
Maybe
I don't know.
that could be true too. Maybe it's like a minute if you're doing it by yourself, but if you maybe like
Yeah,
a friend can use it on you. Although I've never seen
yeah,
that mechanic in this game where like you can't heal others, you can just give them something to heal themselves. I don't know if
yeah.
maybe that's something that they'll add in the future where
It's
you can heal
it's
other
it's
people.
coming. Interaction with other characters in the game is definitely coming because they've spoken about, melee takedowns and stuff like that. They've spoken about, obviously the defibrillator. Like,
Well, maybe that's the
you're
mechanic.
unconscious.
Maybe that's
Like,
the
you
mechanic for the
don't
hideout, right? Maybe it's
right.
like if you're doing like field dressings, you're cutting off like your maximum health, like it's penalizing you for like you get like that gray area of health that you can't
Ooh.
heal, and then when you go into your hideout, you heal back some of like that grayed out like health
Mm.
area, you know
Mm.
and then my
Yeah.
guess would be is that like this counterpart to therapist is going to have like this advanced medical treatment stuff that you could pay a premium for to make that happen faster, maybe.
Mm.
I do
Yeah.
like how they added the stims, where now we have like these heal over time mechanics. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I love the
That is
mechanics of
really
the
cool.
stims. It adds an amazing element to the game. I started using them a lot
Absolutely.
more lately than I have in the past, which is very cool. My favorite being like the green one, the what is it, ETG,
Yeah.
and the adrenaline stims are amazing.
I I I really like the yellow ones because that's literally
The
health, like
Propital,
regen. Yeah, the Propital, man.
yeah,
That stuff
that's got some
regens your
serious
health
regen.
over.
Yeah.
Dude, it's made me walk out of labs with only a head before, whilst bleeding from just about every fucking limb, dude. Like no joke, no joke. It's crazy. Um,
Um, what are so let's see. What do we have anything else?
I
Um,
mean. What are we really looking forward to? I mean, kind of, we've discussed a lot of that.
I'm looking forward to the hideout, man. I think if
Yeah,
they're able to implement all the little mechanics that they wanted to say that they were going to put in the hideout, I'm really
yeah,
looking forward to that. I think like having the shooting range and being able to put armor on a mannequin and
yeah.
shoot it to see like what the effect is going to be, you know?
Yeah, so that's see, like, eh, that was an idea that got floated in the last podcast, or was it the one before that? But in one of the podcasts that happened recently, that
Yeah, somebody
definitely is an
said like they
idea that
wanted the ability
floated.
to test stuff and I think Nikita
It
was like,
was
"Yeah, there will be like this kind of thing that we want to
yeah,
add."
yeah, he said that there is going to be some sort of a firing range, but,
Yeah.
you that will most likely be to do with testing, like, guns and ballistics, and things like that,
The
bullet drop
question
and
the
stuff like
question will
that.
be whether or not the expandability of the hideout will be
Mm.
implemented in the game with the addition of the hideout,
Ah, that's a good
right?
question.
Like,
That is a
yeah,
very,
here's
very good
here's the
question.
hideout, but it's not really all of it yet, I
Yeah,
wonder.
yeah,
It
yeah,
would be cool if they have like the expandability of the hideout and all of that incorporated. That would be pretty sweet. Um,
yeah,
for now, I have a feeling it's just gonna kind of be like player housing, you know, like we've seen in other MMOs. Um, but I'd like to see like the functionality, like being able to like mine Bitcoin and the kind of stuff that they
yeah,
said that they want to add.
yeah,
Because we have just about all of the computer parts, right? I mean, the only thing they don't have in the
yeah,
game is like
right?
motherboards.
Yeah. I mean, we even have wires now that we can loot.
Yeah, yeah. Make
So
build a PC in a virtual house.
yeah, yeah, and then like sell it on the flea market or even to mechanic or whatever, right?
Yeah, I'd
But
like to have the hideout because it adds like a whole other flair to the game, like for
yeah,
content
just a whole
creators
nother
to be able to
layer.
like personalize it to like
Yeah,
your like what suits you and kind of
yeah.
have that be kind of like the operational background between raids would be kind of cool.
Dude, even now with the stash system that we have, I have items in my stash which are legit lost. That is going to
Yeah.
d- be 10 times worse by when it's a physical, like,
Yeah,
you
like
know,
Party Pineapple will just have Russian pineapple juice everywhere in
everywhere,
his hideout,
everywhere.
you know.
And banana milk is going to be the same. I don't know if they're going to add banana milk, but there's definitely milk in the game.
Yeah, they
So
have they have they
they,
have regular milk. Yep.
there you go. So,
Um,
um,
let's see. What else? What
but
else? What else we got? We got anything
I
else?
mean,
I don't know. Should we like some final thoughts or some questions from people? Did
yeah,
we
I
have any
mean, we
good?
can
Did we have any good
do.
questions that we wanted to?
Well, people were asking about like the 209 and stuff that
Party wants to know when
should
we're
have.
gonna buff the 209. He wants to know when they're
Well,
gonna
yeah,
buff
the
that.
buffing the 209.
Buffing the
That's
209.
um, but I think like some of the like the rounds and stuff that people were mentioning in your Discord earlier. I don't know. I don't really have too many questions that are. Um, in fact, I don't really have any questions that really need to be answered. We've pretty much answered most things already.
Yeah.
That
So there was the idea of like fragmentation chance and the
yeah,
the
for the
global
Gexa
pen
rounds or
amount.
something.
Yeah. So for
Mm,
those of you that don't know, and Veritas did a video on this, and shout out to him because he's a fucking amazing dude in the community. He made a video that showed that you have to have just about like somewhere north of 24 penetration chance in order for a round to penetrate anything ever. Um,
mm,
and the fragmentation chance is tied to which 24 pen that 24 penetration rating is basically like skin. Um, if an armor or if a bullet isn't able to have, or if in any round it doesn't have more than 24 pen chance, it won't penetrate and will not have a chance to fragment. So if it doesn't have more than 24 pen on the rating chart, it won't
mm,
it won't fragment ever. Which is why if you look at slugs, for instance, like a generic slug has a fragmentation chance of 100%. It says it's going to fragment every time you shoot it, but
yeah.
the penetration chance is next to nothing, so it never penetrates, therefore never fragments. And rip ammo is kind of weird because the rip rounds, even though they're made to fragment, that's their job. They're literally just shards of metal that break apart and like completely obliterate something's insides. Mechanically, in the game right now, they can't fragment because they have no penetration chance.
Hmm.
So, what I have been told, or what we were all told in the last podcast, was that they were going to be revisiting the ballistics for I think point 12, right? Didn't they say that they were going
Yeah.
to be doing that for point 12? So
Yeah.
there could be new ballistic mechanics in point 12, and I hope that it's something that they're able to visit and possibly look at doing something different than this like global penetration check, because I think that,
Well,
that changes an awful lot of stuff.
see, with the intermediary patch that we've got coming, they've said they're going to be reworking things like sound, so they could possibly, like
Yeah,
Nikita
the
went as far
directional
as saying,
sound. Yeah.
yeah, the Nikita went as far as saying that they might, well, it is possible that they will remove vertical sound from maps like Interchange and Lab, like altogether, like literally, you will not be able to hear other people on other levels of the map unless they're on specific. Um,
Oh God, Gooms just showed up in the
so
chat. We really need to shut
that's
this shit down.
that's the thing. But Gooms, what's good, man? Anyway, I don't know. Have we got any more questions?
Let me look. Let's see. There was the thing about the frag chance.
Yeah,
Do
we
scavs
should start
have
with
their
that.
accuracy, recoil, ergonomics adjusted if they're using a gun, for example, that has no butt stock?
I believe so. I
Um,
believe so. But then
I
again,
think
it's
I
just
think the
code.
accuracy of
So
the scav depends on what kind of scav it is. So,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
we got told, what was it, 2 podcasts ago, about the like the scaling difficulty?
The scaling difficulty for scavs, yeah.
Yeah.
The dynamic scaling system mid raid, yeah.
Right. So mid raid, depending on what kind of level you're at, when
Yeah.
you come across a scav, the way that it reacts to you is either easy, intermediate difficulty, or hard.
And
And
I believe that doesn't depend on your gear. That
no, it
it
has nothing to do with your
specifically
gear. It's your
depends on your
level.
PMs. Yeah,
Yeah, it's your
PMCs.
PMC level. So there's like this chance where it can morph from like easy to medium or medium to hard,
Mm.
depending on your engagement with them and your level. Um, so I think their accuracy, and I don't know where the PMC scavs are at. I think that they're just set to like ridiculous. Um, but those guys, they don't seem like they have accuracy issues at all, regardless of what it is that they're shooting at you with.
Mm.
They might miss like the first couple of rounds, but it seems like they get exponentially more accurate after like the first or second shot. And
Yeah,
they also aim for the head like all the time.
they do.
Um,
Yeah.
so I don't know uh, about recoil and ergonomics and that kind of stuff really having an effect on them. I think it's more along the lines of like they from my understanding, they basically make like a check roll to see whether or not they're going to hit you,
Yeah.
and how accurate their aim is going to be. So it's kind of like, once in a while, you'll have a scav pop off one shot in a regular map that will like just do nothing, and then another time you'll be running by and their first shot just hits you straight in the side of the head and you die.
Yeah.
So I think it's
Yeah.
just going to depend on the role.
Yeah.
Some raiders are prank difficulty. Let's see.
Yeah.
Did you have any other questions? Let me see. I think
Upgrade
that's the only things that I really got asked that we didn't go over.
that we didn't really cover. Yeah.
So what do you think, Sneak? Final thoughts?
I mean, there's a lot of really exciting stuff in the works right now. We are in the process of building something together. And I think that the future is extremely bright for Tarkov, the game in general. I think that we need to be there. I feel like we need to support the process as much as possible, and it is a process and it is ongoing. And I feel, I set out to cover this game, in its
Oh,
development.
I did have one more,
Um,
Sneak, but continue.
yeah, no worries, no worries. But Yeah, so I set out like from the beginning. I set out to kind of cover the development of the game because I didn't really want to just stick to a single game. But hey, guess what? A year down the line, and we've been we've been streaming Tarkov. I don't know, man. For almost a year solid
Yeah, my
at this
one
point.
1 year streaming anniversary is in like, I don't know, a month, something like that.
Mm,
Somewhere in
mm,
February. I have to look and see when
yeah,
I got really going.
yeah.
So I did. There was one more question.
Go on.
What do you think could be good ways to stop hatcheting? What do you think about completely removing an ability to put stuff in your secure container mid raid
You know what? I've actually had
or
several
gear
discussions around
requirements?
this. Um, I've had several discussions around this, and in fact, that feeling that we have on labs right now. So that feeling would only intensify with the whole fact that you have no safe storage, right, as it
Right.
were, on your PMC. Um, I think that could be, how have you ever played Diablo?
Yep.
So
Lots of Diablo.
Diablo has a hard mode, like a hardcore mode, right?
Hmm.
Where you die once and that's that, right? It doesn't matter what happens. You die once, that's it. The character is gone. That save deletes itself. That's the end of story.
Right.
And I think that they could implement something like that, but not necessarily anytime soon. But something like that could definitely. I feel like that should be.
Yeah.
I think that it has a place in Tarkov for sure.
I think that there's. I think that Uh. There's a the issue with the hatchlings, like at its core, right? It's that somebody runs in doing nothing but holding a melee weapon. They grab a bunch of stuff, they throw it into their gamma, and then if they die, who cares? I made money,
Mm,
right? That's the problem that everybody has. Is like I run in, I stuff stuff into the gamma, you kill me. Oh well, you get my tag, and now tags are worthless. So
mm,
it's even more of a. It became more of a problem because the tags aren't even worth anything now.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I think in order to be able to put stuff into your gamma, there would have to be some kind of a duration of time that would have had to have passed, and you are looting something in order to be able to put it into your gamma, right? Like it's got to have a cooldown timer, maybe.
Yes, I have also heard suggestions like you can't put stuff into your gamma mid raid.
Well,
Um,
I don't think that that makes I don't think that that makes as much sense
okay.
because if you have like let's say I walk into a raid with a 500,000 ruble kit on, right?
Mm,
And I get super lucky and I find let's say I find one lead X. Uh, 20 minutes into a raid, I find a lead X on labs that's worth 1,000,000 rubles, right? So I know that I
mhm,
made money on the run as long as
yeah.
I can get that out, right? It's a one by one item. It's rather inexpensive, but I think anyone in the community would argue that I obviously risked a 500,000 rubles for an opportunity to make more than what my kit is worth,
Yeah.
right? So if I'm 15 minutes into a slower paced run in labs and I find a lead X and I want to put that into my gamma, um, I should be able to do that.
Sure.
I think, right, and I think it's a risk versus reward thing. And maybe this could have like further tweaking. Maybe it's like the cooldown on the amount of time it takes before you can put something into your gamma container is somehow related to your gear level, right?
Mm,
Going into your raid, right? So like if I'm a
see,
hatchling, like that timer is 30 seconds before I can put
yeah.
something in. So
See,
I've got to hold it in my pocket or whatever in the
the
meantime.
the rumored Kappa container, right, is supposed to be, from what I understand, 2 by 3 with an additional 3 slots or whatever, which are separated from the others, right? This we can take that slightly further, and we can say, for instance, the 2 by 3 slot, right? Like the area that is a 2 by 3, you cannot put stuff in there. But then you have the other slots, like the 3 single slots that are next to the main area, or like the 2 by 3, which are usable.
Right.
So you can take stuff in and out, but they are single slots, right? So, like you said, the LEDX, for instance, or you find like a key bar or something, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I think modifying the mechanics of the container itself, like changing like whether or not the cells are linked, that kind of
yeah,
thing. I think
yeah,
modifying that changes what was purchased.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Because the biggest incentive for buying EOD is the expanded storage space, and you get this gamma container, which
The
is
gamma,
the
yeah,
largest it's the largest in terms of its inventory size until somebody can get the kappa, um, and it's shaped differently than like the epsilon, but the epsilon takes a long
mm,
time to get. You know, um, I think that modifying the core mechanic of the gamma container uh, would change the reasons why people bought the package.
yeah,
Like I feel like that's a little bit
yeah.
too drastic. Um, and I think there's
Mm,
probably a more simplistic way that they can go about um, disincentivizing people to do hatchet runs. Like and I think like the health systems and stuff that they're looking to implement and like the healing time required and that kind of stuff is
yeah,
going to play a lot into that too, where like
definitely.
there's larger penalties to people that go in without stuff and just get shredded, you know?
You see, like I've also heard a suggestion which will pretty much outright kill hatchets straight away. Will just that whole tendency will atrophy.
Right. And it yeah.
If you go in without gear, you'll have to pay like 3, 4 times the amount of insurance
Yeah.
on your health.
Or like actually
Right.
Veritas just showed up, or like have scavs hyper aggro toward
Mm,
targets of opportunity, right? Because like, and actually that's a good point, because you have they said that there's these mechanics, and they even have like emotes now where the scavs go like, oh shit, this guy's stacked, and they'll go
mm,
like run for cover. Like you could do that in an opposite direction where they say like, oh, that dude's only got a hatchet, I'm gonna go hunt his ass.
yeah.
Like why bully? So you could have the scavs recognize the fact that like, oh, you're a target of opportunity for me, I'm gonna hunt you down and take all of
Yeah.
your stuff, and
Yeah.
then proceed to do just that. And I think also what they've done in the past, where they've had the scavs AI stuff spawn earlier in the map generation. Like now, if you start on factory, there's normally like 2 or 3 scavs like in the factory somewhere,
Mhm.
like at the
Yeah.
moment that the map begins. So not
Yeah.
having that duration of time before they show up, I think is a huge help. I think that they need to, on the larger maps, have more of them and have them spawning in more like randomized places so that they aren't easily
Mm.
avoided. But I think I like that idea, having them like hyper aggro toward and super difficult toward people that are just running around with axes, and
Yeah.
and and put them in lanes where people have a tendency to run through to get
Yeah.
to
High
a certain
traffic
spot.
areas.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
if I was a scav and I wanted to loot bodies, I would be in those higher traffic areas. So
Mm.
make a scav spawn in the main common area at the top of the stairs in front of 310. So if
Mm.
you're a hatchling, you got to get past that dude in order to be able to loot it. Now, if you bring a pistol, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe they're still hyper aggro, but at least you got a chance. You know.
Yeah.
So
What do you think about scavs, right? Like player scavs warming up the server as the timer is getting started, as that
I
server
I
starts.
like I like player scavs. I think there need to be more of
Like,
them.
uh,
I would
but
love. I
before
think the 10-minute
PMCs
timer is
spawn,
good, but
before PMCs spawn on the map, player scavs spawn in, and they have the first pick of the loot, right?
yeah,
And they have a certain amount of time before they
I
can extract, for instance.
that's tough. I
What do you
mean, there
think
isn't
about
any way for them to hide anything, right?
it? Yeah.
Um, if they got in first, they don't have any keys. Maybe it would add an interesting element. That's for sure.
Mm.
Like if
Because
they
they will
had
get the
if
first pick of the loot, right?
yeah, if they had
And
PMC scavs
then,
spawn in first,
yeah, well,
you
yeah,
know,
player
like
scavs,
you
right?
get you
Yeah.
get like a you get
Warm
or
up the
player
server
scavs get
for
like a thirty
everybody
second head
running.
start.
Yeah. Or like, yeah, like 30 seconds to a minute possibly. Yeah. I don't know. It's something. But I think for today,
Don't mind me. Carry on, Smoke
this will be a
TV,
good
quiet.
time to kind of wrap
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I think this is where we wrap it up. We're on 2.5
Indeed.
hours now, man.
I know it's been an absolutely brilliant one.
Dude, I'm having fun with this. We need to do this.
Do you see what I mean?
Just,
I don't know. You
just
gonna
talk
carry
about
on
random
after
stuff.
this? Because if you are,
I have to make a phone call, and
okay.
I got to make some food. I haven't eaten yet today, and yeah, blood sugar's running low. I'm getting a little hangry.
No, fair enough, man. Yeah, of course, dude. You do what you got to do.
But I'm gonna be back on. I'm gonna get some
Sure.
food. We'll run like a little split day, and I'll be back on here in about probably, I don't know, 45 minutes or so.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only, the absolute, one of the sexiest men on Twitch, One Peg MG himself.
Dude, thank you for taking the time, Sneak.
Hey, dude, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, man. We'll have to do this. Have to do this on the regular, dude. I'm thinking.
Well, for sure.
I'm thinking we're gonna have to set up a schedule.
We did speak about having a some sort of a, I don't know. I want to get some sort of an interview.
We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. In any case, ladies and gentlemen, say goodbye to One Peg MG for today.
Bye, Sneaky.
Sometime
Bye,
soon.
Sneaky.
Much love to you, man.
Nice one.
All right, man. I'm gonna go.
Good chat,
I'm gonna say hi to my chat. Have a little chat with them
worries.
for a hot minute, and then go do my thing.
Sure. See you soon, dude.
All right, bro. Later.
Thank you for that.
Guys, that was fun, man. Thanks for hanging. One Peg. How'd I do? That thing needs a little help. You gotta work on that EQ a little bit more. Sigma, dude, thank you so much for the bits. Here, hold on. Let me do something here. Let me do something different so that I can actually see this stuff. If it'll change the scene. Oh, there we go. All right. Like, sounds better now. Yeah, it was because I was using the wrong digital encoder. That's why I was using MME instead of WDM. But I won't have to worry about that very, very soon. I am getting rid of the digital mixer tomorrow. I'm gonna have all the cabling. So tomorrow, fellas. Sigma, thank you so much for the bits. Guys, I appreciate you. InfoWars desk when? So, Gooms has all these ideas for the stream. He wants me to stream in a suit every time. He wants me to change the thematic aspect of the stream to Wolf of Wall Street, and have like the whole money guide thing really pushed. Guys, we're up to 70 subs. Fuck. This is so the little dog in the upper right hand corner is Arnie, who's actually right over here right now begging at me to let him outside so that he can pee. The suit idea is not that new. I've worn the suit and tie in the past. Big dog Quaaludes. Yeah, I think it would be a little bit of a Monka TOS on some kind of like Ludes emote. There's no way in hell that shit would get approved. That would be really funny. Yeah. And then Gooms was the one that suggested the InfoWars desk for all the drama news. But like I said, I'm releasing a video here at some point where I'm going to apologize for all of that bullshit, and I'm probably not gonna do as much of the drama stuff. Catching a lot of negativity from the community at large over that one. But what can you do? What can you do? You know? Dude, it's quiet. It's too quiet. Gotta get something going on here. What can you do? Kappa. Just figured out how to have Tarkov open and still switch between screens. Wow. Go undercover. Report among the scabs attire. One peg among the scabs. My last video criticized Battlestate for handing out media kit level amounts of gear to Sacriel. These alpha male brain supplements you found in the labs. Alpha male brain supplements. Jesus Christ. Oh, I love you guys. I really do. Who should we go say hi to while I go make a sandwich and try not to die? I'll take a pallet. Sacriel's gonna DMCA me. I only showed his picture. I didn't actually show any of his footage. Reevestone TV. I don't even know who that is, Barry. Reevestone TV. Is he one of your boys? Who is this man? Good kid. Do I want to make you a sandwich, Beef? Beef, no. I do not want to make you a sandwich. Let me see if Andrew is on. You shared an opinion? How rude. I know, right, Sigma? I know that is super shocking. Sigma with the highest bits of the day, by the way. Thank you, Sigma. I like your badge. It looks fancy. I don't watch the fights. Host a ninja. Host ninja. Raid me. I'm going live. Gooms, I would raid you. I would raid you if you and Batty were on at the same time, just so that you could send him a raid of a handful of viewers to really cook his noodle. I would do that. Thanks for the awesome content. Have a good lunch. Thank you, man. Can you do a news collab with VoiceOver Pete? I don't know who VoiceOver Pete is. Dude, I'm coming up on my 1 year, and I haven't gotten around the damn, community nearly enough. What I want to do is raid Donut Operator and have him go, oh, you're a streamer? Because if you guys have, wait, Gooms, can we pull that up real quick before you guys go? I want to show you guys these, because this shit is hilarious. Donut Operator and Cuddy. Where the hell are those clips? I need to play them really, really fast. Oh, yeah, here we go. I got it.
Do you stream as well?
I do, yeah.
Are you streaming right now?
All right, hold on. So for those of you that don't know, Donut Operator, it has a YouTube channel with 545,000 subs. He's not nobody, and he makes videos about cops that shoot and kill people on YouTube. So he's pretty well known, and he started streaming recently with a bunch of guys over at Blacksite, and right now he's playing with X Cuddy, and doesn't know who X Cuddy is.
Do you stream as well?
I do, yeah.
Are you streaming right now?
Indeed.
Is your stream the same as your in-game name?
No. That's a meme name. My stream is XCuddy. XCUD.
And they're on the same team.
XCUDI?
Yep.
Hey guys, check out XCUDI, XCuddy. That's who I'm streaming with right now, and he's really helping me.
So, hold on. So it gets better. Because now there's this.
Are you a streamer too, or what do you do, man?
Yeah, I'm streaming right now. Clean just hosted me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I usually just stick to YouTube. I make a lot of YouTube videos.
Oh, okay, cool. It's kind of like whatever game you're playing at the time.
No, I make YouTube videos on people being shot in real life. Like when a police officer shoots someone, I make a video.
So yeah, no, he has no idea, who that is. Neither one of them did, and it was awesome. That was the funniest, purest shit ever. It was so good. I was laughing my ass off. It was so great, but neither one of them talked to the effect of how big either one of them is, because they're both fucking massive in their own spaces, and neither one of them was oh yeah, I got a 500,000 subs on YouTube. He was like, no, I just make some videos. It was so fucking good, man. So great. Like, what a time to be alive, chat. All right. Let's go raid Reevestone, shall we? Gentle people. Let's raid Reevestone TV. There he is, friendos. GG no re. What's that YouTube channel? It's Donut Operator. One nut. Fucking party. All right, guys. As always, I love you all. Wait, where's Arn? Where are you? Where are you? Say hi. Say hi, bud. I don't know if you can see him. He's down here. He doesn't want to move. He's such a load. Well, I guess he's shaking his head back there. I guess we'll have to say hi to Arnon later. Thank you, guys. I'll be back in, I don't know, probably an hour. All right? Peace. Love you all.
Killer might be in here.
I'll just look through the... Yo, One Peg, thank you for that raid, man.
Okay.
Welcome in, guys. Welcome in. Yo, One Peg, how are your raids today, man? I also have a question for you.
I do an F1 from a scav.
That's a rip. I have a question about that video you put up the other day.
35 exactly.
Is there really that key spawn? Is that a real thing? How are you doing, though, my man? What's good, Quandez? Play the bagpipes at your funeral. Veritas, how are you doing, my man? Welcome in, brother. I'm sorry, I'm in Dome. Sorry, brother, talking to chat. No, what? Oh, okay, I heard. Was doing a podcast? Hey, good shit, man. Me and Clem are actually going to start doing a podcast pretty soon.
I have a sneaking suspicion.
I mean, all we do with our lives is Tarkov, so, you know, might as well.
So if you don't hit the button, do random patrols spawn once you clear them, or can you actually clear the whole map?
You can clear the whole map. But you can, we can start hitting buttons if you want now, I think. Those guys in mid fucked off somewhere. Gotta go do adult things. Heard, my man. Thank you for confirming that spawn for us, and thank you for the raid again, brother. I hope your raids went well today. Thank you for the raid again, brother. I hope your raids went well today.